putain, j'avais mute, pardon. Putain, enfin. Oh, putain de merde, putain de merde. Désolé pour l'attente. OBS a décidé de faire de la merde. OBS a décidé de faire de la grosse merde encore. Twitch, avait pas de problème, c'est encore le multistream sur YouTube. Le multistream qui a tout fait merder. Voilà, je suis désolé encore. Allez, 20h08, putain, vas-y, déjà 10 minutes. Bonsoir. Désolé du retard. Bon, sur Twitch, il n'y avait pas de lag, enfin, il n'y avait pas de retard, mais c'était sur YouTube que OBS ne voulait pas. Enfin bref, bonsoir. Nous revoilà donc sur la deuxième partie donc des React des Walten Files, donc sur tout ce que j'ai traduit. Nous avons été donc arrêtés hier soir, donc la vidéo cachée de Walten Files 3, donc coupable. Et nous allons reprendre dans un instant là avec donc le premier film Flurry sur les Walten Files, sachant que depuis le temps que MatPat parlait de FNAF sur sa chaîne, il n'y avait qu'une seule chaîne où il n'avait pas encore pu parler de FNAF, c'était Film Flurry, et Walten Files a enfin été l'occasion pour lui de pouvoir enfin parler d'un truc en rapport avec FNAF. Voilà. Et on va pouvoir tranquillement se mater ça. Yep, mais j'avais setup les trucs, mais du coup le début de live était un peu embêtant. J'espère que vous êtes bien posés et tout. On va se mettre. Ah oui, je vois le ratio, mais ça c'est le ratio des... Là, le ratio, c'est les anglophones qui n'ont pas compris que c'était une version sous-titrée et pas juste un re-upload. Ah bah tu venais regarder au marathon. Oh bah très bien. Bah, j'espère que ton anniversaire s'est bien passé. Bah t'as fait d'anniversaire en tout cas. Joyeux anniversaire encore une fois. Et ouais, j'espère vraiment que ça s'est bien passé. J'espère que c'est bien passé pour toi. Ah bah d'accord. Bah merci en tout cas pour faire un petit coucou Sergzeni. Et bah de toute façon il y aura le replay. Il y aura le replay pour rattraper ça. Voilà. Très bien. Et bah sans plus attendre, on va s'en mater ça, du coup, le film Flurry, le premier film Flurry, du coup, sur le Walten Files sorti, pour moi, sorti il y a 4 ans, donc août 2021. Ah oui. Bon, c'est très bien passé, bah très bien alors, très bien. Je me souviens même plus de comment j'avais traduit ça, non, normalement, bien. On va voir ça.
Hello, and welcome to your first day on the job here at Theorist HQ. We have all sorts of fun planned for you as you start working as our newest...
Insert job title here.
Before we begin your exciting Theorist adventure, we are legally obligated to tell you that by continuing this tape, you are implicitly entering a legal agreement with Theorist is no longer liable for any injuries or, in rare cases, premature deaths befalling you or your family coming from any or all of the following: paper cuts, running with scissors, vending machine accidents, gray computer monitors, electrocution, dark web activities, rampaging animatronics, awkwardly placed knives.
Ah, je me rappelais que ce moment, j'avais un petit peu galéré. J'ai un petit peu galéré parce qu'à un moment, il parle vite, il y a tout plein de trucs à la fois, et puis fallait réussir à suivre.
You're still there? Great. Welcome to your new job. Oh, and watch out for that thing that's behind the TV. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where we still think you're beautiful no matter how long your mangled corpse has been stuffed inside a robotic sheep.
So if you've ever been on these channels for even a fraction of a second, chances are that you know that we're big fans of Five Nights at Freddy's. No, not that sort of fan. Put that thing away.
Ouais. Là, niveau traduction, j'ai pas pu traduire mieux. Parce qu'il y a le jeu de mots fan, et puis fan en anglais, fan, ventilateur, fan. Et en français, tu veux pas. Il n'y a pas d'équivalent. Il n'y a pas d'équivalent à fan. Voilà. J'ai fait ce que j'ai laissé. Bon. J'ai fait comme
Put
j'ai
it
pu.
back in that heck closet where you came from. But in all seriousness, being a fan at this point is a bit of an understatement. Game Theory has gotten 45 episodes dedicated to the darn thing. Heck, in less than a year, Food Theory got an episode. It is practically a rite of passage for the theorist channels at this point. But what about me? Poor little underappreciated film theory, the middle child. Between the official movie's constant delays and other FNAFy films like The Banana Splits and Willy's Wonderland being meh at best.
Alors, il dit qu'ils sont bof en vrai. Willy's Wonderland, c'est un nanar qui est très très sympa. Franchement, Nicolas Cage, bon, il parle pas du tout du film, mais c'est Nicolas Cage qui défonce les animatroniques. Je vous conseille de le voir. C'est vraiment top. Vous passerez un bon moment dessus. C'est pas le film du siècle, mais vous passerez un bon moment dessus. Le Banana Splits, bah, on l'a vu aussi avec des potes. C'est passable, on va dire. C'est moyen bof. Ouais, voilà.
It seemed like there was really no chance for the requisite film theory on animatronic horror set in a nostalgic 80s era restaurant franchise. But then I found the Walten Files, a combination animation, live action, audio play, horror mystery experience here on YouTube created by the Chilean animator Martin Walls. The event
Elle date, l'ancienne photo de profil de Martin Walls, ouais, c'est... Ça, là, pour les anciens, voilà, là, vous reconnaîtrez celle-là, bien avant celle, l'iconique du chien qui boit son Pepsi, bien sûr.
The events of the story, which is still ongoing and unfinished according to its creator, obviously draws heavily from its FNAF source.
Même aujourd'hui, en 2026, on peut dire qu'elle n'est pas terminée de très très loin.
Material, but it uses those elements to tell a horrific tale in its own fresh way. A tale where the biggest horror isn't the immortal aubergine serial killer, but rather our own failings as human beings. But in order to get to that end result, you first need to piece it all together. True to form, on a first watch, all you're gonna take away are a bunch of disturbing images. But if you dare to look closer, the real plot is hidden by glitches, reversed audio, unlisted videos, and even the scariest place of them all, the YouTube comments section. So what is the tale hidden inside the redacted Walten Files? That, my friends, is what we aim to decode. At its core, we're very much in the FNAF tribute zone, at least at first. There is a Chuck E. Cheese-inspired family restaurant with animatronic robot mascots, a yet unspecified incident of 1974 that causes it to be condemned, and a legacy of horrific, possibly supernatural terrors spinning off from all of it. The restaurant in question this time, Bon's Burgers, which is said to have operated in 1974 in Brighton, Michigan. The hook? A troupe of robotic mascot characters called the Showstoppers, which include our title character Bon Bunny, Boozoo the Ringmaster, Shaw the Sheep, Billy the Clown, and Banny the other rabbit because redundant. So far, the canon storyline is spread out across 3 main uploads made by a person named Anthony, titled...
Ouais, c'est vrai qu'à l'époque du premier Film Fury, du coup, il y avait que... On avait que Walten Files 1, 2 et 3, et donc les 2 vidéos cachées, quoi. C'était pas beaucoup, mais ouais, on n'avait pas grand-chose sous la dent, quoi, avec ça. Même si le 3 vraiment très très au-dessus des 2 autres.
Introductory tape, relocate project, and bunny farm. We know this based on messages Anthony leaves in the description of each video. As he himself calls out, each upload is, in fact, a compilation of tapes, ranging from found footage to gameplay recordings to training tapes for new employees. And right off the bat, we're presented with this. Backwards text that, when flipped, gives us this message.
Voilà, donc les textes à l'envers, ce que j'avais dit hier sur les premiers Walten Files, c'est que les textes à l'envers, je les avais traduits justement pour cette vidéo-là.
You finally start to remember that old day. They will reach out for you soon.
You finally start to remember that old day. They will look out for you soon. So already within minutes of this thing starting, we can tell that we're dealing with a repressed memory or amnesia plot. But who or what is coming for us? It's 2 minutes later when things get real serious.
Bon invited Shah, Bozu, and...
That nightmare fuel there is Jack Walten, one of the co-founders of Bon's Burgers alongside his best friend Felix Kranken. We're told later in the series that they met in college in 1958 via their shared dream of building a restaurant themed around robotic mascots, which kind of feels like a weirdly specific thing to have a shared dream about with a random guy you met in college, but hey, you do you, Jack. Well, apparently doing you means putting his creepy pasta face in the scariest places imaginable. Jack is everywhere across all these tapes, on a movie box, on late night television, in your backpack. We see a missing poster appear on TV with Jack's face, but unfortunately, the video is too low quality to make out the details on the bottom on their own. Ugh, the sound design of this thing is just horrific. You would think that our clues would end there, but in a brilliant move on the part of Martin Walls, creator of the series, by turning on closed captions, we can see that Jack has been missing since June 11th, 1974.
Le fameux coup de génie de mettre des sous-titres, alors que ça devrait être un truc de base sur toutes les vidéos, quoi, sur tout genre de série et tout, quoi. le fameux coup de génie.
Same year that Bond's Burgers opened and then shortly thereafter closed. Coincidence? I think not. Our little Bond cartoon tries to get some light, but in a flash, we see a possessed Bond animatronic over a new character named Sophie, dressed in every security guard's favorite color, purple. After the Sophie jump scare, we cut to live-action found footage from October 10th, 1982, where we meet and immediately lose our final new character from this first video, Brian Stells, a facility caretaker for Bunny Smiles Incorporated, the parent company of Bond's Burgers. But he's not going to a restaurant, friends. Instead, we watch as he drives to a storage facility that's buried deep in the woods labeled K9.
I've been driving for 20 minutes and I can't find the place. I made it to the location. I think Chris told me this place hasn't been working since about 78.
His job is to test out the animatronics. Alone in the woods in an abandoned storage facility turning on bloody animatronics. I think we all know how this one's gonna end. Brian is chased into the forest by Bond only to get himself crunched, leaving us with the parting words, quote, "He thought I was her." Notice again the purple uniform. Suspicious. And with that uplifting message, the first upload of the series ends. But the mystery continues. You see, under the video is a pinned comment written by an account named Admin. The comment is, well, it looks like someone tried typing it with their feet. A string of random letters and numbers seemingly amounting to nothing. But you all know better because you all are theorists. You know that's gonna be a code, and indeed it is. It's a text string written in base 64, which, when translated using an online decoder, gives us, quote, "The first pieces of the puzzle have been placed. The puzzle is far from a solution, however. Be wary of the hints that appear over time. One misdirection can throw off the course of this puzzle forever. Psy 05.
Ouais, c'est vrai que ce truc-là, le commentaire, ce commentaire-là, je me rappelais même plus à l'époque quand le 1 était sorti. Je me rappelais plus du tout.
Noteworthy here is the name Psy 05, which, when translated back in base 64, is, go figure, K9, just like the animatronics storage facility. And now, things are really getting suspicious. Going to his channel reveals nothing but a ticking clock and a promise of more puzzle pieces for those who are patient. So, to recap, we have Bond's Burgers co-founder Jack Walton missing, but perhaps still alive due to a message of "let me out of here" on Bond's TV in that first video. We have someone trying to regain lost memories and someone or something else trying to help those memories come back. We also have two purple-clad security caretakers, dead Brian from 1982, who was mistaken for someone else, and Sophie. Could Brian have been mistaken for Sophie? Maybe, but to know for sure, we have to continue to the second and longer video titled Walten Files 2 Relocate Project. And again, having closed captions on gives us immediate clues that we wouldn't have otherwise. Dates for the 4 tapes that we're about to watch, which, surprisingly, are all released around the same time. A training tape from July 2nd, 1978, a tech support tape from a few days later, July 9th, 1978, found footage from 3 technicians dated July 12th to the 14th, and then finally a jump forward to a reprogramming tape from a month later, August, also 1978. Man, isn't it nice when franchises give you a clear and thought-out timeline? Isn't that a nice thing to have?
Ah ouais. Ah là là, Scott. Hein. Scott et ses soucis de... Ouais. Ah oui, le compte n'existe plus. Ouais, bon, ça m'étonne pas, je pense que ouais, Martin, il a plus besoin de ça pour faire mettre des messages ou autre. Hein, de toute façon, c'est vrai que c'était les débuts ou que ça s'inspirait. Ça se voit de toute façon que ça s'inspirait un petit peu de FNAF, il y avait beaucoup de similitudes avec FNAF, dont les moyens aussi de montrer des codes, tout ça, des trucs cachés. Mais bon, ça on l'a vu par la suite, qui s'en est très vite détaché.
Scott Cawthon, I hope you're taking notes. Oh, sorry, my allergies just kicked in there. Oh, I'm allergic to unclear and muddy timelines. From these tapes, we start to fill in the gap of time from the previous upload. With all of these coming from 1978, we learn what's happened since the closure of Bond's Burgers and Jack's disappearance 4 years prior, but also what led to Brian's death in 1982.
Oui, la chaîne YouTube SY05, donc qui voulait dire canine. Oui, c'était lié. C'était une chaîne qui était liée directement. C'était comme je disais, c'est pour relier, pour donner des petits messages, des trucs comme ça à la FNAF. Mais comme j'ai dit, du coup, il a vite laissé tomber le truc.
See that in that time, Jack's partner Felix Kranken completely took over the company, literally cropping out his former best friend like you do with an ex-boyfriend on social media. The name Relocate Project is his initiative to, well, I'll let the text-to-speech bot tell you.
The purpose of relocating them in a new restaurant that would be opened in a not-so-distant future. A pretty smart plan, right?
A not-so-distant future of 1982, as we see on this high-fidelity drawing of the restaurant. So this tells us that Brian's death, also in 1982, was a direct result of Felix trying to rebrand and reopen the Bondsburger franchise. And the film isn't subtle about how great of a guy Felix is.
Let's give it up for Felix Kranken, a man with not only a giant brain, but also a giant heart.
Hold on, what's that in the darkness? Brighten it. Oh, sends.
Ah, magnifique. Ouais, c'est vrai que MatPat, son humour manque. Hein. En vrai, à ses vidéos, depuis qu'il a laissé ses vidéos à d'autres personnes, sa chaîne à d'autres personnes, c'est vrai qu'il manque un peu à YouTube. Hein.
Shivers down my spine, but there's Jack again, almost as if he disagrees with the video calling Felix such a smart and amazing guy. The rest of the tapes in this batch seem to be telling us which souls possess which animatronics. We first see Banny the Lady Bunny, who seems to be possessed by a woman named Susan Woodings based on a missing poster that needs to be brightened in order to read. Banny seems to be trapped, as throughout her section we see imagery of caged rabbits and hear that
The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving.
sounds like that bunny might be starving. I don't know, just a hunch. So, is Susan starving, or is this the animatronic itself starving and needing to feed on souls? It's unclear at this point, but it does seem to connect with a secret final line that happens after this episode's credits. Waiting until the very, very, very end of the video gives us this line.
Shadow Man feeds me when lights go off.
Shadow Man feeds me when lights go off. Weird, right? It would seem like we have another malevolent force at play in the story, or maybe the Shadow Man is a caretaker of sorts for these animatronics and the souls that are contained inside. Either way, it does seem like we see the Shadow Man on this same upload, in the third tape, the Technical Support VHS. Here, Shaw the Sheep gives us a tour of the facility, leaving rooms and leaving behind a dark figure, something that could easily be described as a Shadow Man. But that's not all the creep factor in this tape. In addition to your standard creepy posters on the wall and disturbing imagery, we get this piece of audio. More reverse sounds. Playing it backwards, we get this.
Rosemary would go to the restaurant every night hoping that his beloved husband would reappear after being missing for weeks, but no response until one day she heard a voice saying, "I know where she is, Rosie," coming from the backstage.
So it seems
Ouais, voilà, c'était bien ça hier. Quand on a entendu l'audio inversé pour la dernière fois, là, il me semblait bien que c'était ça qu'elle disait en inverse, et ouais, là, Matt l'a confirmé.
obvious that Shaw has the spirit of a woman named Rosemary inside. Based on the fact that we hear talk of her missing husband, Rosemary appears to be Jack's wife, also meeting with an untimely fate. But the
Si tu savais, Matt, ce qui allait lui arriver.
real detail to call out here is the voice that leads her backstage before she gets stuffed, using a shorter, more casual name like Rosie. She's actively being lured back there by someone who knows who she is. We hear later that Bond the Bunny is the one who will
We'll fix you. You will beautiful.
So, could it be that Bon was also the one luring her into the back? Or was it the Shadow Man? In any case, it's yet another confirmed victim of the restaurant chain, and yet another animatronic identity confirmed. Which leads us to the last tape of the bunch, in which 3 employees spend a night in the K9 facility as they try to reprogram the animatronics. Ashley Parks, one of the 3, wanders off at night to explore deeper into the facility. Through her found footage, we not only meet a new animal friend, a gray rabbit that appears to be more puppet than robot, but we also get up close and personal with Billy the Clown, which seems to be an older model complete with a cassette player in his stomach. And of course, this being a horror series, Ashley can't help herself. She plays the tape only to hear this.
Jack, Susan, Charles, Rosemary,
Sophie.
A list of names, and not just any names: Jack, Susan, Rosemary, Sophie. One character we know went missing, two we know are in animatronics, and Sophie, whose role is still unclear. Plus, there's a new name this time, Charles. Could this be a list of souls possessing our 5 animatronics? Or, since we suspect that Rosemary and Jack were husband and wife, are they instead all related to each other? It remains to be seen at this point in the series. What doesn't remain a mystery, though, is the fate of Ashley, who, like so many before her, gets attacked by Bon and put into Billy. In a flash frame before the video ends, we're left with this chilling message in text across the screen of how their visit ended.
They left the next day. They thought Ashley left early, but she was in the back doors, screaming as much as she could. But no one heard the screams. The following days, the caretakers would complain about an awful smell coming from the back doors. Company decided to shut down the facility until new advice. The relocate project was unsuccessful. Ashley is still there, but she's not screaming anymore. She saw something she wasn't supposed to see, and now she's beautiful. She's beautiful. She's beautiful. She's beautiful.
Again, just like Rosemary, we have this repeated theme of beauty, that fusing with the robots make you beautiful in some way. And with that, we're through everything from the first 2 canon Walten Files. Or are we? You see, there's one other massive secret in this video, a hidden code to find an unlisted video on Martin Walls' channel. And it's hinted at by everyone's favorite commenter. More puzzle pieces have been laid out for you. Others are more significant than others. 2 pieces are crucial to slowly achieving the solution. Find the pieces, return them to me, and meet at the intersection. See you soon. End quote. And wouldn't you know it, but...
Ouais, cette partie-là, je me rappelais pas non plus, mais bon, de toute façon, on sait qu'entre-temps, Martin, bon, il a rebossé un peu le scénario, tout ça, et que bah, du coup, ça se termine pas. Là, on sait qu'il y a encore un épisode avant la fin de la saison 1, et on sait qu'il y a une saison 2 qui va arriver, donc ça a beaucoup changé entre-temps. Hein.
Sure enough, there's a YouTube link broken in 2 pieces, hidden at both the front and back of the Relocate Project video. Putting them together gives you access to a secret video, Lucky You, where everything starts to come together. But that, my friends, is a story for another day when we continue dissecting the clues hidden in this incredibly dense series. So for today, I'm gonna have to leave it at that. 3 solved animatronics and a lot of loose threads to tie up. Like, who is Sophie? What happened to Jack? What is the Shadow Man? And seriously, a burger restaurant? Pizzeria, I get, but burgers? I don't know, now you're pushing my suspension of disbelief. Anyway, what you think? Should I keep going? Was that a fun one? Well, maybe fun's the wrong word. Maybe interesting? Compelling? The cool thing about this series is that it's able to get dark in a way that FNAF really can't, or at least hasn't yet. But this is more visceral, more raw, and to me, as a result...
Non, Matt, FNAF n'a jamais réussi à être plus sombre. Jamais.
Much more scary. So if you'd like to see more, leave the comment down below. Wah wah Walten. I don't know why I asked you for that specifically. I thought it would be kind of funny to see a bunch of wah wah Waltens down there, but you know, you can just leave a comment of whatever. And heck, make sure you subscribe, because at this point I at least have to get through that secret video in part 3, right? Well, if you want to be notified of when that video drops, hitting the subscribe button is the only way to do it. And until then, remember, it's all just a theory. A film theory. And sweet dreams.
Oh, ça fait bizarre de entendre de entendre ça de MatPat. Bah, c'est nostalgique hein, de revoir ces vidéos. Hein. Vraiment. Ah ouais, putain. Mince, je voulais pas faire ça. Duke. Alors, avant de lancer la vidéo de Nexpo, je vais juste devoir faire une pause vite fait, mais vraiment une pause très très vite fait, assez urgente. On se retrouve dans les 2 minutes, vite fait. Je reviens tout de suite. Hein. Vous en faites pas, je reviens tout de suite. Et désolé pour la petite pause vite fait, j'ai pas pu, enfin j'ai dû m'absenter en urgence. Alors d'où vient la photo du chien qui boit son Pepsi? Je sais pas du tout, je t'avoue. Je sais pas du tout. Mais là du coup, bon, on vient de voir le film Fairy de MatPat, bon, qui résume grosso merdo les deux premiers, qui confirme bon, ce qu'on savait déjà, quoi. Bah, même à l'époque, des deux, bon, on avait tous compris ce qui s'était passé, hein. Et là, on va s'attaquer quand même à un gros morceau, puisque c'est la vidéo de Nexpo sur les Walten Files. C'est quand même Nexpo, c'est quand même un gros nom sur YouTube. Et le fait que lui soit intéressé aux Walten Files aussi, ça a un peu aidé aussi à l'explosion du phénomène, hein. Donc ouais, je me suis fait plaisir à traduire ça. Et on en a pour quasiment 1h40. Allez, c'est parti. Là, voilà, comme ça.
Oh yeah, I missed analog horror. Old school, rough around the edges, and by every account, disturbing. What if I told you there was a series out there that's recently stood out to me as one of the creepiest that I've ever covered on this channel? What if I told you that it...
Et c'est toujours le cas d'Expo, c'est toujours le cas.
It's nearly neck and neck in quality with the revered Local 58 that we know all too well.
Oui.
And what if I told you that tonight we're going to be pressing through that very series while dissecting its secrets and piecing together its grim lore? Well, as you can tell by the title and length of this video, that's because we are. Enter the Walten Files, a show birthed on April 26th of 2020 by an online creator named Martin Walls. Inspired by the hit indie classic.
Oh la vache. Il avait... Putain, faut se rendre compte de ça, hein. J'essaie de revenir un peu en arrière. Allez. Oh, c'est assez loin déjà. Bon bah,
Online creator named Martin Walls.
111 000 abonnés. On était quand? On était... Oui, un an après le début des Walten Files, il n'avait que 111 000 abonnés. Pour dire à quel point la chaîne a explosé en 5 ans, quoi. Enfin, en 6 ans maintenant, mais c'est quand même fou, hein. C'est quand même fou, quand même.
Inspired by the hit indie classic Five Nights at Freddy's, combined with a clear love for analog horror storytelling, Walls has crafted an insanely engrossing narrative surrounding 4 animatronics that were assembled for a burger restaurant named Bond's Burgers. The place opened in 1974 and was known to host birthday parties, school events, and even animatronic concerts for the public. Was known to host these things because, due to a few specific incidents, Bond's Burgers is no longer open for business. You see, the Walten Files is structured through just 3 videos at the time of writing that each contain numerous tapes, jumping back and forth between the day Bond's Burgers first opened in 1974 and 8 years later in 1982. A mysterious person named Anthony seems to reside in each video's description and claims that these tapes were all made by an extinct company named Bunny Smiles. Now, Bunny Smiles is somewhat at the foundation here, the Fazbear entertainment of this entire ordeal, and the root of nearly every event that takes place. Deception, curiosity, loss, trauma, and regret have all found their home as cornerstones of this series, and ultimately leave us questioning what exactly is happening with the Bond's Burgers restaurant and who had started this chain of events that ended up going so terribly wrong. As you can tell by the length of this video, This series is gargantuan, with a disturbingly convoluted story that reflects that. And something that's fascinated me for quite some time, so I'm incredibly eager to press through this side by side with all of you. So, without further ado, let's dig in. From the top, the Walten Files.
C'est vrai qu'en voyant le début de cette vidéo-là, c'est vrai que les vidéos de Nexpo, c'est quand même... tu te mets tellement bien dedans, il te met tellement bien dans l'ambiance, vraiment... là, c'est top. Franchement, si vous voulez conseiller à quelqu'un une vidéo qui résume un peu le début des Walten Files et tout, Nexpo, c'est la vidéo à conseiller, quoi.
This is a compilation of tapes created by the already extinct Bunny Smiles Company. I tried to get as much info as I could about what these tapes are, but all I could find was that they were handed to new employees back in 1974 to 1979, and the rest of them seemed to be recorded by a new facility caretaker in the year 1982. Hopefully I can find more soon. Anthony.
Company Introductory Tape, Archive 1, 1974. Serving as the pilot episode for the Walten Files, the first archive within this company introductory tape understandably takes a more direct initial approach at introducing you to the main cast.
And yeah, that's all it is. Just an ordinary employee training video.
Hi, and welcome to the introductory tape to your new job at Bunny Smiles Incorporated. You have applied to a job in technical support and maintenance. What does this job particularly mean? It means that you, amongst other employees, are the one who will take care of creating a magical and fun experience for Bond's Burgers.
As we've established, this first employee training video seems to have been created sometime in 1974. We're applying for a job in technical support and maintenance, and so far, it seems legit. After this brief introduction, the video goes forth to introduce us to the Bond's Burgers' main animatronic characters that make up a group called the Showstoppers, consisting of the eponymous Bond the Rabbit, Shaw the Lamb, Buzu the Ringleader, and Banny the Other Rabbit. The four lovingly perform a couple songs for us before we get into the nitty-gritty about what our new job actually entails.
Animated band made by BSI to entertain children. As a technician, you'll be given the role of a facility caretaker. Around this fun and magical journey we'll work on certain tasks, such as cleaning protocols,
robot maintenance and repair,
and learning how to use BSI technology. But first, here's a message from Jack Walton and Felix Kranken, our beloved founder.
Which reads, in BSI, the most important thing to us isn't the money or the rating. The most important thing to us is that you have a wonderful experience while working with us.
That being said, with the Bond's Burgers restaurant getting opened in a few weeks, we're looking forward to achieving this dream with you.
Alright, hold up. 1975, closed for good Bond's Burgers restaurant. This video seems to have cut to an information catalog from a year later, giving us some insight into the fate of Bond's Burgers. Before we get to what's new though, I wanted to back up and highlight something that stood out to me. That photo of the founders seems oddly uncanny. I can't quite put my finger on it, but with Jack Walton especially, something definitely seems off. Anyway, that catalog houses a ton of information and context, and appears to read the following. Save, restore, secure. The BSI storage facility, also known as K9, is a company project to storage all valuable items from the closed-for-good Bob's Burgers restaurant. Given the situations about the incidents inside the 1974 Bob's Burgers location, any type of props, animatronics, and arcade machines will be carefully moved, inspected, and secured inside a bunker located deep down in the St. Juanes forest for good. A facility caretaker will take care of securing the facility and keeping it safe and working properly. Considering the fact that the initial role of the facility caretaker was to keep the restaurant clean, maintain the animatronics, and to learn BSI technology, I find it strange that they're now in charge of securing this top secret facility in order to keep it safe. Honestly, it seems like a pretty damn big job, and it leaves me questioning what they're keeping it safe from. If that's what they're doing, that is. Archive 2, 1979. Here, we're presented with the children's cartoon created by a Sarah Evelyn. It's titled Bond's Super Sleepover and appears to convey a night where Little Bond the Rabbit had invited each animatronic's younger counterpart over for a night of movies and fun. Initially, everything seems fine. However, when the narrator begins running through the guest list,
Je suis en train d'y penser, mais cette Sarah Evelyn, en vrai, là, jusqu'à maintenant, on n'a plus de nouvelles. Hein. Enfin, on n'a jamais eu d'infos sur ce personnage-là. Et étant donné qu'on a eu les infos du 5, dans le 5, que du coup, ce court-métrage-là avait été présenté par Rosemary, je suis en train de me demander si c'est pas un pseudonyme, en fait, qu'elle aurait pris peut-être pour pouvoir diffuser le feuilleton, ou alors... peut-être que je me fais des idées, mais... Je suppose.
We're promptly informed that this cartoon is not what it seems.
For this sleepover, he invited Shah, Boozoo, and Billy. Let's check again in case we don't forget any guests. Bond invited Shah, Bozu, and...
Hey, Jack, is that you? How are you, buddy? Good to see you. I didn't see you there, buddy. So, this definitely didn't help the initial uncanniness of the original Jack Walton photo. Clearly he, or someone he knows, has inserted his face into these tapes, leaving us to wonder why this was done. After this, we get back to the main story, which involves Little Bond eagerly preparing the movie for everyone to watch. Weirdly, the VHS has that same creepy Jack face on it, and when it actually starts to play, the TV merely shows the text, "Let me out of here." Interestingly, if we take a look around the TV set, we can notice something suspect. A pill bottle with the name Sophie Walton written on it. This will be important later, so let's keep this in mind.
Ouais, tiens, un autre truc que MatPat n'a pas dit et que Nexpo n'a pas dit non plus, il y a aussi ça. Bon, c'est du savon, mais qui provient aussi de Bunny Smiles. Voilà, c'est là aussi.
Later on, everyone heads to bed. We're able to observe each character snoozing away. However, Little Bond seems to be awoken by something, making noise in the middle of the night.
Ouais, les fameux bruits de pas de FNAF 1. Classique. Disparu 11 juin 1974.
Alright, so it seems that little Bond glitches into a cartoon depiction of Sophie Walton, the girl whose pills we saw earlier by the TV. As we could see, when she lit the lighter, Bond appeared behind her, looking as if he had a massive hole in his chest. Furthermore, we can observe that Sophie's dressed up in some sort of work uniform with a name tag that seems to resemble the one we saw earlier. This hints at the potential of Sophie being an employee of either Bond's Burgers or Bunny Smiles Inc. Considering the fact that she seems to be Jack Walton's daughter, then it would make sense.
Ouais, d'ailleurs, je suis en train d'y penser, mais étant donné que ce premier épisode nous montre que Sophie, du coup, a été employée de BSI, bon, alors qu'elle se rappelle plus, du coup, que c'est son père, sa mère bossait là-bas, quoi. Si ça se trouve, alors, soit le 6e épisode va nous dire, va nous en montrer plus là-dessus, et peut-être sur le moment où elle veut travailler, peut-être juste pour se faire des sous, mais que du coup, sa perte de mémoire fait qu'elle ne se souvient plus que ses parents bossaient là-bas, quoi. Ou alors, peut-être qu'on saura plus à saison 2. Je sais pas. Mais en vrai, curieux de voir ce qui va se passer.
Another thing I'd like to highlight was that missing poster, which confirms two things. One, that the image from earlier during the guest list indeed was Jack Walton's distorted face. And two, that something happened to him, leading someone to litter his photo throughout these tapes. Also, while the missing poster date is illegible, the captions confirm that the date reads June 11th, 1974, meaning that his disappearance occurred during the same year that the Bond's Burgers restaurant opened. Could this have been the incident that caused its closure? Considering that he was one of the two founders, it honestly wouldn't surprise me. Archive 3. Taking place just after midnight on October 10th, we're heading down a forest trail. It's hard to make out on the video itself, but the person filming this can be heard in the background saying the following.
So, this is the brand new caretaker for the old Bunny Smiles facility. I'm recording this because the company requires some type of archives for the work history, something like that. I honestly have no clue because I just started working here. I'm going there right now, but they gave me this weird location that's somewhere in this forest to work at. And I've been driving for 20 minutes, and I can't find the place.
About a minute and a few video cuts later, they eventually make their way to that canine bunker. I'm not entirely sure why they have him working during the ass crack of night, but hey, let's hope they're making some overtime. Anyway, upon their arrival, they venture inside and observe the following.
Chris told me this place had been working since about 78, 79, somewhere around then, and that was 4 years ago, I think. So chances are it's going to smell horrendous. So, I found this, and I think this is good news for reworking products for the company. Although it's all like thinking about now. And most guys will have seen their days. But, we're going to be, I must
Moi, la police d'écriture GTA là sur la badge d'identification, il me fera toujours marrer, hein. Franchement, c'est tellement stupide, mais ça me fait toujours marrer.
I can't feel anything. He thought I was her. Brian's paralyzed. He isn't dead. Yet. He thought I was her, though. Is he referring to Sophie? Considering that she seemed to be dressed up in a work uniform that resembled Brian's, it would make sense. But that then leaves us wondering why. Why would Bond seemingly awaken and react so violently, mistaking another employee for what we can assume to be Sophie Walten? Why was he programmed to do this? Backing up to the beginning of that scene, we can overhear Brian talking about how the facility wasn't open for 3 or 4 years. For that entire length of time, the bunker was derelict and abandoned, banished to Mother Nature and forgotten. Interestingly, once he made it inside, we can recall that he made a passing reference to something called a relocate project that he claimed Bond would be good for. It seems that after this long hiatus, someone at Bunny Smiles made the call to open K9 back up, which I find a bit strange considering that the information catalog had claimed that it would be closed for good. For what reason they're reopening it though? I couldn't tell you at this point.
Ouais, et nous non plus, je pense que là, à l'heure actuelle, on n'a toujours pas encore ces éléments d'information sur ce qui se passe après, en fait, entre 74 et 82. Enfin, à part le fait qu'il y a eu le projet de relocalisation, mais est-ce que c'est Félix qui a fait ça parce que du coup il a pas reçu, enfin il a pas eu de charge du coup suite à l'incident, ou alors il a juste payé une amende, un truc comme ça. Est-ce que non, franchement, on n'a pas, pour l'instant on n'a pas beaucoup d'infos à ce sujet en fait dans cette période-là, à part le début de la série vraiment et le projet de relocalisation. Donc j'ai vraiment hâte, et je pense que, étant donné qu'on sait que l'épisode suivant sera centré sur Sophie et sur Jenny, je pense que peut-être que la saison 2 va doucement aller par là pour montrer l'après. Et savoir après ce qui se passe exactement avec Brian, là, parce que là on a vu brièvement du coup qu'il se fait mutiler et tout, puis du coup voilà quoi, il dit bon il pensait que j'étais elle, je me sens plus rien, mais on sait pas pour lui ce qui se passe après quoi. Bon. S'il a été foutu dans un autre animatronique qui traînait, est-ce qu'il est mort, voilà. C'est vrai que l'épisode 1, il nous laisse quand même beaucoup de questions, hein. Pourquoi je cherche Sophie ? En fait, on sait que dans chaque animatronique, du coup, on sait que qu'il y a Bonne, qu'il y a Chat. Donc Chat, il y a Rosemary dans Chat, il y a Jack qui est dans Bonne, il y a les enfants, il y a ses frères et sœurs qui sont dans Rocket. Et là, en fait, on sait que, du coup, ça fait des années qu'ils sont tous dans le local enfermés, donc techniquement dans Wonderland, quoi, au Pays des Merveilles. Et je pense qu'ils ont juste envie de les revoir, et que ils essaient juste, ils vont peut-être vouloir l'emmener avec eux, enfin, la faire venir, enfin, du coup, la démembrer et puis la foutre dans un autre animatronique, je suppose. Mais ouais, c'est ça, en fait, là, ça fait des années, on sait que ça fait des années que le local il est fermé. Donc que les animatroniques, du coup, que les âmes dans les animatroniques sont là-dedans enfermées pendant des années. Et voilà quoi, là, il y a enfin quelqu'un qui se déboule au bout de 4 ans, et puis et Bonne, en fait, du coup, Chuck, il cherche son père, quoi. Enfin, il cherche sa fille, quoi. Il cherche sa fille restante, quoi. Il reste Sophie, parce qu'il y a tout le reste de la famille dans le local, sauf Sophie. Donc, pour moi, c'est logique que là, ce soit le père qui veuille, qui ait le plus contrôle de son animatronique, qui veuille aller chercher Sophie. Et ça, je pense qu'on en saura plus en détail, soit dans l'épisode 6, ou soit dans la saison 2, du coup.
But what I do know is, considering the fact that Bond had chased Brian out of the facility, eventually catching up to him, mangling his entire body, and leaving him for dead, this so-called relocate project just might be the worst idea that Bunny Smiles has ever had. At least, as far as I know.
Oui, et puis c'est aussi pour ça que dans les épisodes cachés, il y a tout le passage où on entend c'est ce que tu as vu, ils viendront te chercher bientôt, en fait dans le sens voilà, ils sont enfermés depuis longtemps dans le local et ils veulent récupérer Sophie parce que bah, c'est la seule personne de la famille qui reste, qui est encore en vie, qui traîne voilà, dans la nature et que je pense que les âmes du coup de Jack, de Rosemary et puis des enfants, ils veulent que Sophie vienne avec eux, quoi.
This is another compilation of tapes from Bunny Smiles Incorporated. I was able to contact people via forums and threads that have some information on the company. These tapes revolve around some relocation project that was being executed during the late 1970s. A BSI ex-employee mentioned that the tapes were really private and only a few people had copies of them. Once the company vanished in the early 80s, all tapes regarding the project were banned and destroyed. These are super rare, and I'm really lucky to have them.
The Relocate Project. Archive 1. July 2nd, 1978. The footage opens up with an informational segment about the closure of Bond's Burgers and the purpose of the Relocate Project. The same narrative.
Ah, et bonsoir Trog, bonsoir. Là, on est en plein dans le visionnage du coup. On est du coup dans la playlist de mes traductions de Walten Files. Et là, on est sur une grosse vidéo. C'est une vidéo. Bon, là, on est déjà bien parti dedans. Mais c'est une vidéo de Nexpo, donc un gars qui est très connu sur la sphère anglophone, du coup, qui a fait une vidéo du coup qui couvre Walten Files. Et là, il est en train de parler de la partie 2.
Creator that voiced the company introductory tape is back and seems to be eager about the future of Bunny Smiles Incorporated. Oddly though, if we look closely during this segment, we can notice bits and pieces of visuals that don't quite fit in. Have a look.
Hello, BSI members and employees, and welcome to the tape that will change the future of the Bond's Burgers brand and the Bunny Smiles company for the better. That's right, after 4 long years of legal paperwork, we finally decided to use our backup plan, which we created after the tragic closure of Bond's Burgers back on July 20th, 1974. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present to you the Relocate Project. But before we go into details, we want to greet all the new Bunny Smiles employees.
With the company greeting out of the way,
Let's start analyzing the Relocate Project by checking what has happened ever since the closure of Bond's 4 years ago. As many of you might have known from previous tapes, our beloved entertainers were safely secured in St. Juana's storage facility some months after the restaurant's closure. Later on, a good amount of business opportunities appeared, such as books, merch, animated movies. We even got a TV show. That's when Felix Kranken had the brilliant idea of restore and reprogram the robots of Bond's Burgers with the purpose of relocating them in a new restaurant that would be opened in a not-so-distant future. A pretty smart plan, right? Making enough money to eventually reopen the Bond's Burgers restaurant is no doubt a brilliant idea. So let's give it up for Felix Kranken, a man with not only a giant brain, but also a giant heart.
So clearly Jack Walton sunk his little tendrils into this tape as well, interrupting what seems like a self-aggrandizing segment about Felix Kranken. Admittedly, this does appear to be symbolic, especially when we consider the fact that, earlier, Felix was labeled as the founder, singular, with Jack cropped out of the original photo that the pair had taken together. To me, this notion combined with the aforementioned 4 years of legal paperwork makes it seem like there might have been some bad blood between the two after this so-called incident that occurred back in 1974. Further supporting this is the fact that when the Bond's Burgers merchandise is being shown, we can spot a VHS about the disappearance of Jack Walten hidden behind the others. And if we head back even further to the file section, we can spot something a bit odd. You see it? It's cut off and hardly legible, but the words on the file box appear to read, "Jack's still here." Seems a bit deliberate, doesn't it? Given that these were so-called internal company tapes, that means that someone within Bunny Smiles knew something they probably shouldn't have when they were putting this footage together. So what actually happened to Jack? Considering the fact that the Relocate project appears to have been in planning since sometime in 1975, merely a year after his longtime friend and business co-founder went missing, to me, Felix Kranken is beginning to seem more and more suspicious as time goes on. Jumping forward a month, we're greeted with what appears to be an internal company tape regarding animatronic reprogramming. Banny appears on screen, and for this example, is used for these tests. The video initially shows their mouth opening and closing, with captions claiming that this is a so-called pre-relocate feature that requires checking since reprogramming could have affected this. Afterwards, they move on to a new Relocate project exclusive, which involves blinking. Ominously, the captions claim that employees would always need to keep their eye sockets clean, which I find odd considering that they're mechanical. With what we know so far about Bond and what he did to Brian Stells, I do wonder if Banny's alive per se, in the same way. Anyway, after this brief test sequence, a distorted face becomes overlaid onto Banny's head, implying that they're either representative of a human counterpart, or that someone's locked within her somehow. Once this brief section passes, the video cuts to a top-down view of what appears to be the inside of Bond's Burgers, showing Banny helplessly trying to escape.
Get out. The mighty rabbit needs to 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 get out. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving.
The bunny rabbit needs to get out. The bunny rabbit is starving. Starving for what? At the end of that entire sequence, we were greeted with a shrouded missing persons poster. After brightening it, it doesn't appear to be Jack's, but that of a Susan Woodings. The missing date's hard to make out, but it appears to be on the 30th of June in 1974. So, 2 missing posters and 2 animatronics that appear to be alive. And so we make our way to the new, updated, and revised technical support tape made specifically for the canine facility. Shaw the Lamb is our host in this one, and states that she'll be taking us through an orientation and area tour inside the bunker.
Welcome to Technical Support. Today we will focus on the area tour and orientation inside K9, the Bunny Smiles storage facility. We recommend all facility caretakers to have all needed equipment in hand and to always wear the Bunny Smiles uniform. But most importantly, all of you must always, under any circumstance, use your BSI ID card. Once you have all the necessary equipment at hand, we are ready to go.
Barring how uncanny Shaw's mouth movements are, this small section confirmed that the costume that Sophie was wearing back in the introductory tape was indeed a facility caretaker uniform. Let's keep that in mind. The next segment takes us outside of K9. We make a quick check for all the necessary equipment for the job. A lantern, snacks, a key, and a camera before we make our way inside. Once we do, Shaw begins to annoy us because,
wow, it's pretty dark here. You should turn on the light. Turn on the light. Turn on the light. Turn on the... It's important to keep track of which rooms you enter. This place can be really tricky and you could get lost very easily. This is the resting room. In this room, you can sit down, rest, talk with coworkers, you name it. Remember to always keep this room as clean and organized as possible. A clean environment.
C'est quand même rigolo à noter que, bon, comme je disais tout à l'heure, les premiers Walten Files étaient vraiment à faire des trucs à la FNAF, vraiment faire plein de choses, faire plein de petites références et même, donner des messages un peu à la FNAF, comme là par exemple le restaurant clairement a les mêmes motifs que le restaurant de FNAF premier du nom.
It helps to get tasks done faster. A dirty environment only makes the job harder to get done. Alright, this is the main hall of the place. In front of you, you will find 3 doors. These are storage areas. The first door is used to save any kind of cleaning items and supplies. The second door is used to save a kind of prizes and merch that was available in a Bond's Burgers restaurant. The third door is used to hide...
The third door is used to hide what, Shaw? The bodies? Yeah, anyway, so that silhouette, you saw that too?
Show the man.
At this point, we have no context or clues about who that could be, but let's keep them in mind.
It's absolutely must be so free sure one of me is still better his head now was not not to went up. You were missing me retired later with the developed with and you will see on your right now cover the door here in floor.
Welcome to the basement.
No, hold on a second, run that back. Backwards.
Rosemary would go to the restaurant every night hoping that his beloved husband would reappear after being missing for weeks, but no response until one day she heard a voice saying, I know where she is, Rosie, coming from the backstage.
Interesting. Given the context, it's a no-brainer to assume that Rosemary is Jack's wife. The ending to that quote, though, implies that something lured her backstage. But what?
Welcome to the basement. Right now, you are in the main storage area. As you can see, this is the room where we storage more important items such as stages, tables, arcade machines, and birthday props. Now, please follow me to the next door.
In the Bond's Burgers restaurant, remember to avoid touching or shining lights at our robots unless you are a facility technician. Now let's move on to the next room.
How odd. I remember we visited this room already.
Sophie, where am I?
Listen.
By the time the lady entered the backstage, as the voice told her to, missing husband wasn't there. Instead, she found a rat.
Rose broken will fix you. You will beautiful. You will beautiful. You will beautiful.
When she woke up, she looked beautiful. But on the inside,
It felt like every single part of her body was bleeding out.
Alright, so what just happened there? Right after Shaw finished showing us the basement, we briefly see a photo of Bond and Shaw together, almost like they're a couple. Shaw appears to enter the backstage area, notifying us that only facility caretakers...
C'est vrai, pour le coup, là, dans l'épisode 2, en fait, le fait qu'à ce moment-là, il montre la photo des deux, Martin, il a fait un bon truc de vraiment montrer indirectement au spectateur que Jack et Rosemary, c'est mari et femme. Et là, quand tu connais maintenant qui est dans quel animatronique, tu vois, tu reconnais un peu ce qui se passe, enfin, le moment où ça se passe.
Should be shining lights on the robots before leaving that room, only to make her way back to the basement. Afterward, she expresses confusion, claiming that we visited this room already, utters the words, "Sophie, where am I?" and then walks southbound once more into what appears to be that silhouette figure from earlier. We then see a cartoon version of what we can assume to be Rosemary, with a strange voice giving more context into that reversed audio from earlier. Instead of finding her husband, they claim, she found a rabbit. Bond, the rabbit. After claiming over and over that, "You will beautiful," and "You're broken, we'll fix you," Bond appears to dismember Rosemary before stuffing her corpse into Shaw's body. Shaw wakes up and expresses that she looked beautiful before we see yet another shrouded missing persons flyer. After brightening this one up, we can clearly see that it's for Rosemary Walten. July 19th, 1974. I'm beginning to see a pattern. Here, we have a poster for Rosemary, who we know was killed and stuffed into Shaw. Earlier, we witnessed one for a Susan Woodings, who appeared to possess Banny, and at the very beginning of the first episode, we saw one for Jack Walten. Considering that he's been missing this entire time, the fact that Bond was one of the first alive animatronics that we witnessed in this series, and the implications that came with that photo of Shaw and Bond, I'm starting to get the impression that the Jack Walten corpse is, in actuality, stuffed inside of Bond the Rabbit. This is, of course, just a theory, but it leads me to wonder.
Ouais, c'est une théorie, mais qui est maintenant plus ou moins confirmée. Maintenant, oui.
If it's true, who exactly did that? Let's move on.
No, but the place itself was open during a short period of time, in which a certain number of cases occurred around the area. Huh. Yeah. And there were complaints.
So this fourth tape involves the experience that 3 facility technicians had during a 3-day stay at K9. For the first part of this tape, we can overhear them gossiping in the background while they're getting their work done. According to them, they're on a 3-day timeline to get these animatronics reprogrammed for the Relocate project and are hastily working to complete it before then. During their conversation, they discuss the fact that they overheard cases that occurred back at Bond's Burgers. Allegedly, the place played music from midnight to 2 to 3 in the morning and closed down after people reported screams from an adult woman inside. They go forth to explain that the place had to close down so the police could check it out, and on the very last day that the restaurant was open, they had only let 2 families in. That day, the animatronics were missing, and all the curtains were closed. The next scene takes place 2 days later. Going by their conversation, they weren't able to get the robots pre-programmed due to what they described as highly damaged endoskeletons. And as a result, they declared their efforts a failure before getting ready for their last night of rest in this facility. But Ashley wasn't quite ready to pack it up. She begins inquiring on the small key that they were told to bring with their other supplies and how it doesn't seem to have a purpose. Everyone else discounts her curiosity, and they all head to bed. Well, except Ashley. She grabs the camera and sets out to explore, finding her way to a door labeled Back Doors. After realizing that her key fits the lock, she heads back there to ease her curiosity.
This is bigger than I thought. I don't think I have room time, so I'll just try and peek around indoors and see what's inside.
There are a ton of empty rooms with boring stuff. I came across this door, which,
Après, là, ce que je suis en train de me demander, parce que c'est vrai qu'on en avait parlé hier de ça, que, en gros, ils avaient donné une clé sans savoir, sans dire pourquoi l'utiliser, mais est-ce qu'au final, là, vu qu'on le voit dans les images, est-ce que c'était pas au final, la clé ne devait pas servir pour que les techniciens avaient accès, en fait, à du matériel pas utilisé, qui traînait dans les autres salles, qu'ils puissent réutiliser pour programmer les robots, quoi. Voilà, tu sais, un petit bout de ficelle pour faire des économies, quoi. La classique, hein, de toute façon.
This is open. Kinda weird. Anyway, this room seems to have some spare endo pieces and from the looks of it, some unused animatronics, I guess? I won't go into detail about what I find since I'm in a rush, of course, and this room number 26 or 27, I think. As you can see here, there are some spare heads. Nothing I'm interested in, to be honest. So this is the last door. I've never seen this clown thing before. It's really, like, there's absolutely no way I'm getting close to that thing. I'll probably wait till you guys see this video and come down here with me so we can take a close. I found this. I'm pretty sure that clown thing had a cassette player installed. So I guess I'll have to be brave and try and see what this whole thing is. I don't really know why this dude has a cassette player thing installed. But my guess is that it's used for birthday parties, like, you know, play a customized tape or something? I don't know. But we're about to find out.
Susan, Charles, Rosemary, Sophie. Hello, I'm Billy, the funny movie clown.
Alright, let's unpack this. Ashley ventures off into the back doors area of the facility, something that, given the context, doesn't get explained to new facility caretakers that take on the role. This entire scene is the epitome of curiosity kills the cat, since when she went snooping, she encountered Billy the Clown, who went forth to become her new eternal jail cell. What I find strange is that the tape she found had the word discard written on it, with Jack's disappearance date above it. Why would this tape need to be discarded? Could it potentially be activating the animatronics, making them kill people? Speaking of killing, the names that were read off from the tape are definitely cause for concern. Jack, Susan, Charles, Rosemary, and Sophie.
Ouais, c'est clair que Ashley, dans toutes ces histoires, elle a rien demandé, et puis elle s'en trouve complètement défoncée, littéralement, par bonne. Ouais. Non, mais vraiment, elle méritait pas ça. Hein. C'est juste que, au lieu d'attendre ses collègues, elle s'est dit, ouais, maintenant, finalement, je vais aller voir, et puis, non, c'était pas ce qu'il fallait faire, Ashley. Non.
Now, we know that Jack, Susan, and Rosemary had all gone missing, and we have a suspicion that their corpses have all been stuffed into these animatronics to make them beautiful. Considering that Jack, Rosemary, and Sophie are all part of the Walten family, this leads me to wonder who Charles and Susan are. What's their relation to Bunny Smiles, and why are they included in this ominous list of names? Moving forward, right before the video ends, we get two quick bits of text. Pausing on the latter text gives us a code, which we'll come back to in a second, and pausing on the former reads the following. They left the next day. They thought Ashley left early, but she was in the back doors, screaming as much as she could, but no one heard the screams. The following days, the caretakers would complain about an awful smell coming from the back doors. Company decided to shut down the facility until new advice. The relocate project was unsuccessful. Ashley is still there, but she's not screaming anymore. She saw something she wasn't supposed to see, and now she's beautiful.
Oui, le moral de cette histoire, la curiosité est un vilain défaut.
Admittedly, this really drives home just how large the canine facility is. Ashley was left there, screaming for help, while Bond presumably injured her so badly that she couldn't fight back. And nobody heard her. Nobody noticed she was gone. At least, until the smell of her rotting corpse within Billy filled the air days later. And so it appears that we now have 4 victims. Jack, Susan, Rosemary, and now Ashley. 4 victims, 4 animatronics, and a whole bunch of talk about becoming beautiful.
Ouais, comme il l'a mis dans son petit commentaire là, il a oublié Brian. Oups.
Now back to that code. You know what it is. A YouTube link. So let's head there. The story of Bond's Burgers goes back to 1958, where 2 college students had the same idea of animated performers. Their names were Jack Walten and Felix Kranken. It took them 16 years to actually execute this concept, and by that time, Kranken and Walten had built their own families. Felix married a beautiful lady, and Walten was not only a great husband, but also the happy father of 3 beautiful children. Lucky You is a bit easier to follow than the others. It's 1 tape with 1 archive. The video opens by showing us various dates and highlights from Bond's Burger's short tenure. The opening day is shown to be on the 28th of June, with the first birthday party hosted just 2 days later. Interestingly, this is the same day of the month that Susan Woodings went missing. Anyway, the video then shows us the dates of the final Bond's Burger shows, followed by the actual duration that the restaurant was open. It was only 22 days, not even 1 month before it was shut down. Also, it seemed to open 17 days after Jack Walten went missing. A bit strange to open after your co-founder goes missing, isn't it? Moving forward, we can then see that the restaurant was boarded up and abandoned by Halloween, and by January, the canine facility was in full force. I don't know about you, but the construction of a top-secret bunker in the middle of the woods seems like it would take longer than 6 months at maximum. Seems a bit like this move was pre-planned. But hey, for all I know, Bunny Smiles could have had this facility in place already for other purposes. About midway into the video, we can observe it cut to the day that Jack went missing. A voice...
Ouais, c'est vrai qu'à l'heure actuelle, après avoir eu le 4 et le 5, on n'a toujours pas, on ne sait toujours pas ce qu'il en est en fait de ce local, s'il avait déjà existé. Du coup, au fond de la forêt, au moment où l'entreprise, au moment où le restaurant ouvre ses portes, ou alors est-ce que c'est Félix qui l'a créé après, histoire de pouvoir balancer les animatroniques quelque part dans un coin que personne n'ira chercher, quoi. C'est vrai que là, on n'a pas encore l'info, mais bon, ça doit être comme beaucoup de choses, soit la saison 2 ou alors peut-être l'épisode suivant. On verra.
Reads us and states the following.
You must be so confused about what you saw. Don't be scared, my little bunny. Answers will be given eventually, but don't try to solve this puzzle only with the pieces you have so far. This is only the beginning. for I'm going to tell you a story of broken people, beautiful people. He is so sorry about what he did to them, but there's nothing he can do. Remember that. Safety and pills, Sophie. Safety and pills, Sophie. Safety and pills, Sophie. Safety and pills.
Safety and pills, Sophie. Strangely, this voice keeps repeating that exact phrase while the video cuts to prior death scenes. On top of this, if we fast forward to the very end, we can observe a message to Sophie herself. They will see you soon. Given all these direct messages to her, it's beginning to seem like this tape might have been made for her. Considering that she was Jack's daughter and is confirmed to have worked for BSI at some point in her life, maybe she witnessed something she shouldn't have, like Bond gruesomely murdering someone. Because of this, we can assume that she may have obtained a prescription somehow to make her feel safe.
C'est vrai que là, de la façon dont il le dit, t'as l'impression que le Shadowman, en fait, c'est Sophie. Ce serait un truc de malade, mais non. Enfin, de ce qu'on a vu, même de l'épisode 5, on est sûr et certain que c'est Félix. Ça peut pas être Sophie, clairement. Même à l'époque, même où son père, sa mère et ses frères et sœurs disparaissent, bon, elle a 14 ans, voilà. Je pense que sur ce point-là, on est d'accord, c'est Félix.
Whether that safety is to help her cope or to forget it entirely is to be seen. But perhaps we'll get some more context later on. I just wonder why they're so prevalent.
Ouais, comme si vous voulez laisser erreurs derrière lui, comme s'il s'était passé par rapport à ses employés morts dans les corps animatriques. Oui, je vois ce que tu veux dire, ouais. Oui, et surtout qu'il a dit même, qu'on l'a vu dans le 5, que pour lui, qu'il a laissé son ancienne vie derrière lui, que là, c'est sa nouvelle vie, quoi. D'où le message qu'on a revu hier dans le Vous avez de la chance. Le mec qui dit que je les ai rendus magnifiques, il savait pas comment, mais voilà, il a réussi à le faire, il leur a redonné vie. Là, c'est Jack, donc Bond, qui prend goût du coup à sa nouvelle vie, qui du coup veut que toutes les personnes, son entourage, soient comme lui. Et c'est pour ça aussi que du coup, on sait du coup, avec la vidéo cachée que il veut du coup que Sophie la revoie. Et il veut aussi que Sophie les rejoigne. Parce qu'elle veut peut-être pas forcément. Et ça, on n'a pas encore complètement la partie de cet épisode-là.
Hey, long time no see. The following footage is about a 1980s video game created by the company. The reason it took me so long to get this footage was because the game never really released to the public, and all footage available was from the beta version. During October of 1982, a few Test Bunny farm machines were distributed around Brighton, Michigan, and this footage was from the arcade machine sent to the Enfant Hotel. The two girls playing the game seemed to have lived there, but the weird thing about these machines was that all the footage from the game was recorded and then revised by BSI technicians to see if the game was ready to be published. This was one of them, and quite possibly the only footage remaining of the game. The footage itself was extremely corrupted, however, and it took me weeks to be able to piece everything together with the help of a friend of mine. But I'm glad you've all been patient for this. It seems to be a huge one anyways.
Bunny Farm.
Aussi, c'est vrai qu'on ne l'avait pas réalisé sur le moment avec Bunny Farm. Du coup, c'est un truc qu'on a eu la confirmation dans le 5. Mais donc, du coup, dans le 5, on voit que Bond, on suppose que Bond, du coup, il peut un peu hacker les systèmes, il peut bidouiller les systèmes et tout. Ce qui fait que là, ce qu'on voit dans Bunny Farm, du coup, dans la borne d'arcade, le fait que que ça envoie des messages et tout, voilà, disons que ce qu'on a vu dans l'épisode 5 confirme que Bonne avait un petit peu le contrôle sur la borne d'arcade pour spécifiquement montrer des messages à Sophie, quoi.
Being one of the more streamlined episodes in the series, you'd be surprised to know that it's also the longest. By far. The video opens up with the company introductory tape intro sequence.
Ah, de loin, plus maintenant. Plus maintenant, ouais. Je me trop un final avec Sophie et Bonne hyper épique, puis une bonne fin. Ouais. En vrai, j'espère aussi. En vrai, une sorte de confrontation entre les deux, ouais. Bonne qui, de son côté, essaierait de convaincre Sophie de les rejoindre, enfin, tu vois, de les rejoindre dans le bonheur, au pays des merveilles, tout ça, que c'est le bonheur et tout, et puis que Sophie est en mode, non, moi je veux vivre dans le monde réel, je veux vivre ma vie, quoi, voilà, quoi, j'ai passé le deuil, voilà, quoi. Mais j'ai très hâte de voir ça, en vrai. J'ai très hâte de voir comment Martin et son équipe vont présenter ça.
Followed by numerous cuts to various points within the Walten Files series. Strangely, we can see a sad girl overlaid onto this footage, and if we look closely, we can also spot a brief news sequence from a local 57 about an incident that occurred in the St. Juanas forest, the same forest in which Brian Stells was left for dead by Bon. After this, we're notified that the photo of this girl is Sophie, before we see that of another named Jenny Letterson and the date this footage was taken. Interestingly, this was merely 5 days after the Brian Stells incident, making it the most recent footage in the series thus far. The game launches. Ginny explains to Sophie that the machine that they're playing on was recently installed in the basement of the building they're living in, the Infert Hotel, and that it was just one of a few units that Bunny Smiles created for testing. Curiously, if we head back to the title screen, we can see that development on this game started in 1975, a year after Bond's Burgers had shut its doors. The exact reason why they closed is still mostly unclear, but I find it interesting that they proceeded with development nonetheless. Anyway, the two joke around a bit before Sophie makes a file and begins the game. Before she can actually play though, we can see a brief intro sequence that sets the premise for the Bunny Farm storyline. Apparently, a fruit festival is occurring, however none of the characters have any fruits around. Luckily though, a Pete the Hippo has a barn full of any fruits you need, and will grant you access to it if you help out around the farm. Seems simple enough, eh? Let's see how it played out.
Pete the Hippo. You know, something I like about the game is the artwork. I don't know why, but there's something about it that seems, really familiar to me.
Ah. Right, I should show you the controls.
Bien sûr, on peut pas mentionner Bunny Farm sans dire vive les lesbiennes. Hein.
So you don't have a hard time playing later on.
Alright.
Okay, so you use this thing to move around.
Okay.
And you use these buttons to interact with stuff.
Yeah.
Apples.
Yeah, I played this game for a while a few years ago, and
So here, Ginny explains to Sophie that the game's super unfinished, hammering home its potential for glitches and bugs. Strangely though, Sophie seems to be unaware of anything she's doing or who the characters even are in this game, which I find incredibly suspect considering that she worked for BSI in some capacity and is one of the founder's daughters. You would think that if her father were to go missing after having pretty substantial involvement with Bond's Burgers, that she'd at least acknowledge their existence.
Ouais, mais là, du coup, pour ça, du coup, on le sait que. Enfin, on s'en doute, mais que du coup, depuis la disparition de sa famille, elle a dû suivre une thérapie, qu'elle a dû suivre. Enfin, elle a dû prendre des médicaments, du coup, qui lui ont fait perdre la mémoire et que. Les fameux laxatifs. Mais ouais, du coup, ça fait déjà 8 ans depuis la disparition d'une bonne partie de sa famille, quoi, on va dire ça comme ça. Et que. Alors après, Bunny Farm ne nous dit pas. En fait, il nous dit pas En fait, Bonifaire ne nous dit pas, en fait, par rapport à à la première cassette, si ça se passe avant d'être embauché par BSI ou si c'est après. Bah, il me semble justement que la relation entre Sophie et Jenny avait été confirmée par des personnes de l'équipe de Martin. Il me semble que ça avait été confirmé.
Like she doesn't even know them. Like she's forgotten everything and shut it out completely. I just wonder if something might have helped with that. Interestingly, a few moments later, Sophie puts these suspicions to bed, making passing references to the pills that we've seen throughout the previous tapes.
Yeah. Thing is, the pills have been making me forget a lot of stuff from my teenage years and my childhood, and like, I started taking them for a reason, but I really don't want to think about it.
So her memory's confirmed to be suppressed, but that opens an entirely new door of questions. Like, remember that phrase Shaw spit out in the Relocate Project tape? Remember how out of place it was?
Sophie, where am I?
Something lured her backstage.
Alors, si tu veux, voilà, dans un commentaire, dans le chat, j'ai été vérifié vite fait. Hein. Dans les sources, oui, c'est bien officiel. Sophie et Jenny sont bien ensemble. C'est confirmé à 100%, elles sont ensemble.
But what if it wasn't Bon, but Sophie? If we think back to the company introductory tape, we can recall that one brief segment where little Bon lit the lighter and glitched into Sophie in a work uniform. What if this is what greeted Rosemary when she went backstage, meaning that Sophie had a direct hand in her death? If this is true, then that leaves us wondering if she did this willingly or was coerced into doing so. Just a few thoughts, but perhaps we'll gather some more answers later on. The two then discuss a bit more about the company and the events that recently happened involving them. Ginny explains that a person named Brian had recently gone missing and how the case is similar to that of this other girl named Ashley who met the same fate.
I know you're into that
BSI?
kind of Bunny Smiles Incorporated.
Have I heard that name before?
I mean, that company has been pretty relevant these past few weeks. Didn't you hear?
What happened?
Some weird rumors and shit. Apparently there was this one employee that drove to some forest a few days ago. Not too far away from here, actually. He hasn't been seen around ever since he drove to that place.
Really?
Yeah. The word got out quickly. Some family members say it was his first day.
Well, what's his name?
Brian, I think?
Well, I hope he's doing alright.
Clearly word's gotten around about these mysterious disappearances, and I find it strange that Sophie discounts it so heavily. I don't know, if I were to be playing a game that were tied to so many peculiar incidents, I'd be a bit apprehensive. But that's just me. After this, Ginny then claims that she needs to head out to finish a paper, leaving Sophie alone in the basement to play the game herself.
Alright, first we need to get the party hats. They should be in the... Alright, good track. Now we need...
On this. I'm not clear even there.
Alright, how do I...
And so Sophie presses on, occasionally expressing confusion and apprehension at the glitches that appear on screen. It weirds her out, but it doesn't stop her. Anyway, she eventually makes her way to the end of Billy the Clown's level and plays a game of tic-tac-toe. After beating him at it, Jack's face appears before the game begins to glitch out, showing...
Visage de Jack, c'est pas plutôt Ashley? Il s'est pas un peu planté là
Ashley's mutilated face within the Billy character.
Parce qu'il dit bien. Oui, le visage de. Ah oui, non, il apparaît avant que. Ah oui.
Showing
Non,
Ashley's
j'ai rien dit, pardon.
mutilated face within the Billy character.
Jenny? What the hell? Restart the level. Christ. Never mind.
Sophie hangs it up for the night. She's seen enough. One night later. Sophie decides to play again, however realizes that her save file has been corrupted by a third party. This screen proceeds to warn us that if we continue, then the machine could suffer major changes and even a complete shutdown. A bit tense, she agrees and begins to play again. Her mood is almost a complete 180 from the previous night, and the game reflects that. Sophie goes forth to interact with the signpost that previously mentioned Pete the Hippo running the farm. However, this time, for a fraction of a second, we're able to read that it's been altered. He promised to take care of the two kids during that day. He told the parents everything was okay. It's sad that we can't really remember you, Sophie, but soon we'll be together, forever and ever. Rest in peace. The two lovely red children.
Voilà, en vrai, ce passage-là, là, le fait que Ed et Molly disent que bientôt on sera ensemble pour toujours, en fait, ouais, ça rejoint ce qu'on avait dans l'épisode caché de tout à l'heure, comme quoi Bonne voulait que Sophie les rejoigne quoi, dans leur monde quoi, avec eux quoi, que toute la famille soit rassemblée. Et là, c'est bien de revoir ça j'avais pas capté hier, mais oui, c'est vrai que maintenant ça a un peu plus de sens comme ça, ouais.
May 11th, 1962 to May 2nd, 1974. August 22nd, 1965 to May 2nd, 1974. It doesn't appear that Sophie actually read it because she carries on as usual. But let's keep this weird message in mind. A few moments later, she begins Banny's game called Hippo House. The premise of this one involves rallying up the pigs that Banny mistakenly let out.
Wouldn't it be funny if I opened the cage? I think it would be really funny. I think it would be really...
Depuis que le jeu a planté et démoli, on corrompu la machine pour la montrer tout. C'est possible aussi, hein. C'est très possible, ouais.
Really, really funny. Yeah, I think I'm gonna open the cage now. Yeah.
Après, on voit bien là, par exemple, là sur la partie précédente, on voit bien que Bonne est toujours là, puisque là, par exemple, dans le mini-jeu, on voyait plusieurs fois, il était là en arrière-plan. Donc Ed et Molly sont là, mais Bonne aussi, quoi. Mais Ed et Molly, c'est aussi de transmettre des messages à leur grande sœur, quoi.
Oh no, Banny! What have you done? All the pigs have escaped to the Hippo House.
Banny, you dumb bunny.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to help.
And so we carry on to solve this problem. Thanks, Banny. You bunny. So Sophie continues, making passing references to the glitches she's been encountering thus far. She mentions how it seems like the faces she's seeing in the game are trying to talk to her somehow, before the game cuts out, playing the following recording from Susan Woodings.
BSI Technical Support Audio Log Number 3, June 30th, 1974. Jeremy's birthday party finished an hour ago. I decided to stay and help the employees clean the place. This week has been strange. especially because of the opening. I find it weird that they opened the place even though Mr. Walten disappeared a few weeks ago. I hope he's doing alright. Rosemary came in today and asked if we'd seen him around. I'm pretty worried about it. Felix seems very concerned and worried too. Anyway, the birthday party, yes. Everything went according to plan. This was the first birthday party in the restaurant, and I feel it turned out pretty well. I noticed a few irregularities in the stage and in the audio animatronics. As the engineer and the person who basically built the animatronics to begin with, it was easier to notice these, especially in Bond. Something fell off. The limbs weren't moving properly. They looked stiff and odd, mainly in his right arm. It took a few more minutes to take him to the backstage, just to make sure everything's okay. I'm the only one left. Chris left some hours ago, and Felix didn't even show up. I'll leave and close the restaurant when I'm finished. I'm sure it's not going to take long.
Given what we just watched, we're able to establish the connection between Susan Woodings and the BSI animatronics. She built them and noticed irregularities in Bond. It seems that, as a result, soon after this was recorded, she set out to repair him, however was mangled and paralyzed in the process. I am still alive, but I can't move, and I'm having trouble breathing, and my stomach feels weird. This drives home the point that Susan Woodings was placed inside a Banny, but that leaves us wondering if it were due to Bond always having irregularities or if someone tampered with them. Considering that this was filmed on the 30th of June, 19 entire days after Jack Walton went missing, that notion wouldn't exactly be out of the realm of possibilities. Sophie continues. She makes her way around the farm, expressing confusion and concern about what she just witnessed. Soon after, though, she makes her way to the mailbox, encountering a strange sequence of messages from a Linda Crankin, whose name was oddly scratched out and replaced with Thompson. Unfortunately, most of the narrative on these pages are redacted. However, we can piece together bits of the story through the ones that aren't.
Ouais, c'est vraiment une souris qui traumatise tout le monde. Ouais. Faut traumatiser tout le monde, ouais. Je suis assez d'accord. Ça te laisse pas indifférent. Ça te laisse pas indifférent, ça c'est clair et net.
October 30th, 1964. Felix has been acting weird lately. He's been drinking more than usual. I'm very worried about him. I don't know what to do. August 23rd, 1965. I know I haven't talked here as much as I used to. This month has been so crazy. I moved in with Felix last week. He was very happy about it. Yesterday, Jack and Rose had their third child, a little girl. Her name is Molly Walton. Jack and Felix have been pitching up the restaurant idea with a company that's interested in the project, the name Cyberfun Tech. December 26th, 1970. Christmas was nice. They built a doll, a gray rabbit, for Ed and Molly. Molly named it Rocket. Felix drank a lot yesterday. This has been a problem for a while. He's a good person, but he doesn't want to address this. It's getting worse and worse, but he doesn't notice. He feels bad about it, but doesn't try to change. January 3rd, 1973. It's getting worse. He's so submerged with their project that he doesn't realize how much damage he's doing to himself, how much damage he's doing to me. He keeps going places only to drink. Sometimes he even stays at the warehouse for the sole purpose of drinking. He doesn't listen. He never listens. I don't know what to do. May 2nd, 1974. Dear Felix, by the time you're reading this, I shouldn't be home. I know you're confused. I'm confused too. What you said to me last week hurt me a lot, but it opened my eyes. Hopefully, this opens your eyes too. Our relationship isn't healthy. It never was. I'm leaving Brighton this morning. You're in the warehouse with Jack and the others as I'm writing this. By the time you're reading this, I'll already be in Hurricane. I know you were busy today doing Jack a favor. Something related to a school party. I can't remember, but please go there when you have the time. As for me, I'll try to build my own life while I still can. And you should do that too. I love you. Goodbye.
Ouais, franchement, l'ex-femme de Félix. Franchement, s'il y a un truc qu'elle aurait jamais dû lui dire, c'est ouais, la fête d'anniversaire, vas-y. Ouais, t'as des problèmes d'alcool, ouais, vas-y, ça va bien se passer. ça a vraiment tout déglingué.
Linda.
Here, we gain our first bit of insight into the backstory of Felix Kranken, someone we've had our suspicions about from the very beginning. As it turns out, he struggled with alcoholism, ultimately leading to the separation between him and his now ex-wife, Linda Thompson. On top of drinking, allegedly Felix was overworking himself, causing damage to not only himself, but to those around him. It seemed that, as an act of goodwill, he built a rabbit doll named Rocket for Jack's youngest two kids, Ed and Molly. Keep these names in mind as they'll be important shortly.
Ouais, je suis d'accord aussi. Je trouve vraiment que je trouve aussi que l'ex-femme de Félix, ça a été vraiment beaucoup trop sympa de le laisser comme ça pendant des années, juste laisser plonger dans l'alcool et puis elle, ouais, bon, oui, elle boit un peu, ouais, non mais ça va passer. Puis il y a des années comme ça. Enfin, elle laisse passer ça pendant des années et puis. Elle se rend compte un peu trop tard que ça ne se réglera jamais et puis que du coup leur relation n'a jamais été saine quoi à cause de ça. Donc ouais vraiment elle a été beaucoup trop sympa. Un peu coup ouais.
Moving onward, Sophie eventually makes her way to VOUS the Ringleader's minigame called Lily's Birthday. The premise of this one involves winning matching minigames against VOUS to test the entertainment for the upcoming party. Sophie obliges. However, things don't quite go as planned.
Ouais, parce que Félix va mourir à cause de ses problèmes d'alcool qui causera sa propre mort. C'est très probable. Après, vu toute la merde qu'il a causée, est-ce que ça sera satisfaisant à voir? Je sais pas. Je pense même pour les fans enfin pour tout le monde, je pense pas. Je sais pas en fait. Enfin, je sais pas quoi voir à part peut-être une vengeance. Enfin, à part bonne entre guillemets qui arrive à se venger, juste à zigouiller à Félix quoi. Mais oui, tu veux dire pour toi, oui. Mais je vois ce que tu veux dire, oui. Mais ouais, je trouve que juste une mort par alcoolisme, ça serait pas satisfaisant étant donné tout ce qu'il a causé. Moi, ce qu'aurait été Walten Files si Félix n'aurait pas bu et aurait amené Ed et Molly à la maison, pas grand-chose, hein. Il n'y aurait pas eu grand-chose, mais il y aurait eu quelques... Il y aurait peut-être eu 2-3 incidents dans le restaurant, du coup... Mais ouais, c'est vrai que sans la mort des enfants, les choses auraient été très 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 différentes. Ouais. Je vois pas, enfin je sais pas, je vois pas comment ça aurait tourné, mais ça aurait quand même été assez différent. Ouais.
Congratulations! You're very good at this. Right. It's time for
The next minigame after this is called Spot the Difference, and is pretty self-explanatory. After a few rounds though, the game glitches, displaying the... Actually, I'll just let you experience it on your own.
Congratulations! You completed my game. Now, time for the prizes. Missing wheel 714, missing wheel 714, missing wheel 714, missing wheel 714, missing wheel 7.
Missing 0714.
Ouais, c'est vrai que j'ai hâte aussi d'en savoir plus sur Charles. Sur Charles et puis également sur Suzanne. C'est vrai que on a eu des discussions du coup entre Charles et Suzanne dans le 4, mais sans plus, on va dire. Et c'est vrai que sur les deux personnages, ce serait bien de la même façon que pour Rosemary, qu'on en aille un peu plus sur le background, un peu sur un peu leur vie personnelle, sur comment ça en est arrivé là, quoi.
It seems to me that the face in that game isn't actually Jack Walton like I initially assumed, since for him, he went missing on the 11th of June, not the 14th of July. With this in mind, if we think back to the end of the Relocate Project video, the names on that list were
Jack, Susan, Charles, Rosemary, Sophie.
So we know that this isn't Jack or Sophie, and we also know that Susan and Rosemary's corpses are stuffed inside other animatronics. The only name remaining is Charles, leaving me to wonder how they're related to PSI or anyone in this entire saga at all. Anyway, back to the farm. Sophie continues. Ominously quiet and littered with missing posters, she explores a bit while expressing concern that she just might know the people within the posters the game's been showing her. A short while later, she approaches Pete's barn before the game glitches, displaying one last minigame for her to complete. That of Shaw the Lamb, the same animatronic we know to represent her mother. The minigame this time is simply hide and seek and initially has Sophie's character finding Shaw.
I need to find the sheep.
After she eventually finds her, we can observe the game switch sides to where Sophie's the one hiding. And from here on, this is where things quickly turn dour.
Am I still beautiful to you? Sophie.
I know you. Found you.
As we could see, when Shaw approached us, the screen cut to what I'm assuming to be the night that Rosemary went missing, with the text reading, I know where he is, Rosie. Follow me. Now, initially I'd assumed that this were someone else, like the voice of Vaughn, since they're referring to her as Rosie. However, thinking back on that scene from the Relocate Project tape,
Sophie, where am I?
perhaps this text could represent the voice of Sophie. After this, we're greeted by another countdown, and when it finishes,
Ouais, et ça depuis, on est sûr que c'est pas que ça peut pas être Sophie qui a dit à Rosemary de le suivre, que c'est donc Bonne quoi, et donc Jack.
observe the following.
Oh putain, même si Nexpo a écourté la scène, ouf, putain, elle fout quand même. Elle refout un coup, même si on l'a vu hier, elle refout un sacré coup la scène. Hein.
It seems to me that entire section represented the night that Rosemary Walten went missing through the eyes of Sophie. With the bloody Shaw animatronic.
Ouais, là encore une fois, sous les yeux de Sophie, non. Par contre, est-ce que ce serait sous les yeux du Shadowman du coup, donc de Félix, étant donné que dans le 5, quand on voit Rosemary pénétrer dans le bâtiment, on voit au loin le Shadowman, donc Félix. Donc à mon avis, c'est comme on l'a vu aussi dans l'épisode 2, là, dans une des cassettes, qu'au moment où Bonne du coup met les membres de Rosemary dans le chat, du coup on voit le Shadowman à côté. Donc c'est de ce point de vue là qu'on voit.
Right up in our face, screaming and pleading for mercy. It really seems like we're experiencing things in first person. This scene is undisputedly traumatic, and witnessing something like this would undoubtedly leave someone scarred for life. With that being said, considering that Sophie's name was uttered by Shaw earlier, that Sophie's actively taking pills that we know suppress her memory, and that in that Lucky You tape, the voice claims safety in pills over and over, it's safe to assume at this point that Sophie must have been there. And so the question remains, did she willingly lure her mother back there, or was she forced to? Jumping forward.
Ouais. Après, Après, ça, c'est pas de sa faute, ni de la faute même de personne d'autre à l'époque, mais on savait pas encore qu'à l'époque où ces événements-là se sont passés, elle avait que 14 ans. Donc, forcer sa mère à aller en coulisses pour soi-disant savoir où est Bonne, alors que elle le savait pas. On l'a bien vu avec l'épisode 5. Oui. Ouais, du coup... Ou alors, on sait que Sophie, elle a vu un sacré truc ce jour-là. Est-ce qu'elle est venue dans le restaurant après? Du coup, est-ce qu'elle a suivi peut-être... Bon, peut-être qu'on en saura plus dans l'épisode 6. Peut-être.
We witness a Grey Bear character emerging from their so-called fountain of memories. Sophie goes forth to ask who they are, to which they respond by drawing the following picture. After this, the game glitches once more, and the bear vanishes. A few seconds later, though, we're greeted with the picture of a house labeled May 2nd, 1974, and on the doorstep, 2 children. Sophie claims to remember it.
That's my old house.
Hello, I'm so glad you're here to help me clean the code base. All that's left to do is change...
That phone call is from Jack Walten to Felix Kranken. Jack asks for a simple favor, to take his kids Ed and Molly to their school event since he...
Ouais, oui, voilà, comme tu dis, Dark, voilà, quand il était dans l'interrogatoire, il a dit qu'il l'a vu, enfin, voilà, il a aidé la femme, il a aidé cette femme, donc on a eu la confirmation comme ça que c'est lui le Shadowman, quoi.
He and Rosemary are caught up in other errands.
School event tonight. A school party and they have no one to pick him up. I need to stay at the workshop to finish the paperwork and Rosie's taking Sophie to the dentist. We were wondering if you could pick him up for the event and take him home later. Tonight? Yeah, if it's possible, of course.
Admittedly, the task is simple. Pick them up at 5 to take them there, and bring them back home at 9. Reluctant, Felix agrees before the call ends. And so, the game leaves us back in the farm area once more. After poking around a bit, Sophie eventually encounters the 2 red children, and upon interacting with them, we gain a bit more context about the night of that favor.
That's Ed and Molly. That's Ed and Molly.
Oui, oui, s'il aurait dit non, oui, ça serait fini ici, oui. Il n'y aurait jamais eu tant de problèmes, ouais, ouais, ouais. Comme j'avais dit tout à l'heure, il y aurait peut-être eu des trucs dans le restaurant, peut-être liés aux animatroniques, mais il n'y aurait pas eu autant d'incidents, ouais, 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 je suis d'accord. Puis bon, le moral dans tout ça, ne filez pas vos gosses à quelqu'un qui a des problèmes d'alcool. Voilà, je pense que c'est assez important comme message.
After this brief segment, we begin playing in the school at what appears to be 9:37 p.m. Rocket approaches us and says to follow. After exploring a bit, we eventually glitch through a wall and become those 2 kids who, surprisingly, have not been picked up yet. Soon after, we encounter Rocket and are shown a scene involving the 2 kids expressing that they're ready to leave since the school looks creepy at night. Where's Uncle Felix? They claim. And so we set out to find him. Shortly after, the scene cuts to 9:53 p.m. and involves Felix and the 2 kids in the car. They inquire on getting home safely before pressing Felix about drinking before this trip. The speed of the car picks up, with Felix becoming more and more erratic. The children forgive him for his behavior. However, ominously, the text on screen states that it's all your fault before the following takes place.
Thanks, Molly.
Now, I believe this, right here, marks the beginning of the end of the relationship between Jack and Felix. Jack's children were killed, and it was due to Felix's own irresponsibility in getting them home safely. Even more bizarrely, soon after this bad ending sequence plays out, we can observe a scene with Rocket the Rabbit in the woods, with the voice ominously claiming that
Ouais, c'est vrai, je suis d'accord. C'est rigolo le fait que Jack dit à Félix que c'est un ange gardien alors que, alors que, voilà, il lui a pris ses enfants, quoi. Ouais. L'ironie.
They didn't go home that night. He buried them here. He was too scared. But they found a way out eventually.
You have 25 new messages. Felix, pick up the phone. Now, I need you to pick up the phone. It's been 3 hours since I told you to get Ed and Molly home. What happened to my children? If anything happened, Felix, you must tell me. You haven't told me in 3 hours. I need to know what's going on. I'm trying to call you all night. What the hell is wrong with you? I've been trying to contact you all night. I've been calling everyone for you. Just what the hell is wrong with you? 3 hours, you didn't call. I asked you to do one simple favor for me. I need to know, where are they? Where did you...
And to cap off this last entry in the Walten Files saga, we're left with a message.
But that's not all, is it? There's still something you forgot to remember. They've been waiting for you.
Before we're greeted with 4 animatronics. Benny, Buzu, Shah, Bon.
Ouais, et ça, honnêtement, je pense que c'est ce moment-là, bah, de tout le passage qu'on a vu hier dans Bunny Farm où on a donc du coup le perso animé du coup représenté par Sophie qui se trouve dans le restaurant et qui voit chaque animatronique du coup et qui ressent chaque personne qui est dedans. Je pense que ça, on va finir par l'avoir assez bientôt et que ce serait vraiment une des scènes les plus importantes de la série, je pense. Je pense pas exagérer en disant ça.
Considering that this series is very much in progress, this message could be hinting at the future. Is this little girl popping up around Bond's Sophie, or is it someone else that we haven't seen yet?
Ah, il avait pas capté que là, les 2 enfants qui apparaissent là, c'est Démoli. Je pensais qu'il aurait pas. C'est facile. Non, enfin, pour moi en tout cas, c'est facile à comprendre étant donné qu'on vient de voir que les enfants du coup ont été tués, que Jack a essayé de les appeler, que du coup qu'il est en colère contre Félix. Donc là, normalement, enfin, je pense qu'en tant que spectateur, tu te rends compte, tu te dis, ah bah tiens, oui, en fait, c'est démoli, en fait, oui.
For all we know, this could even be some sort of warning, given that, so far, this game's done nothing but help Sophie remember the past that she's been forced to forget. She's the last alive member of the Walten family, and I'm not entirely sure if remembering and re-experiencing the deaths of her entire family are a good or a bad thing. It looks like we'll have to see. In memory of Edward and Molly Walten. Ed and Molly died Thursday, May 2nd, 1974, in a fatal car accident. They were leaving a party made by their school to celebrate spring. Jack Walten couldn't take his kids to the celebration because of work. a friend of Mr. Walton would take the kids instead. On the way back home, Jack's friend was driving in questionable conditions, thus crashing his car near the road next to the St. Juanas forest. Instantly, both Edward and Molly's lives were taken. You will be remembered, our little angels, our little red children. Now, you might be wondering where this hidden tape came from, and conveniently, the answer's simple. It was left in the Walten Files playlist on the Martin Walls channel, implying that it's canon. The premise of this one appears to be an audio archive of former events surrounding Felix Kranken, with the first segment taking place on April 15th of 1967. In this one, we can hear Felix briefly and enthusiastically discussing Bunny Smiles and how he has a positive outlook for the company. Following this, we get one more from 1972, explaining how his company made a deal with Cyberfun Tech to continue on with the Bonsburgers project. And after this one, we can observe one last audio log from May 2nd of 1974, the same day that Ed and Molly died in that fatal car accident. Within this one, Felix expresses his guilt, contemplating on what to do.
Alright, yeah, messed up. It's been so long since I last used one of these. Last time I used this, I was driving in the same conditions. I messed up. I have a problem. And this has been a problem for so long that I can't even remember. The most time I got drunk, I don't remember most stuff. That's probably why I carry this.
And that, my friends, encompasses the entirety of the Walten Files. Dark, complex, disturbing. So, in review, this entire series appears to revolve around Jack's eldest daughter, Sophie Walton. She's the core, the one that can maintain this ongoing status quo that Felix Kranken's established, or to burn it all down if she so chooses. She was born into a family of 3, with her mother being Rosemary and her father being the elusive Jack. A few years later, 2 more siblings named Ed and Molly would be born into their family. However, due to events that Felix Kranken had a hand in, they would never, ever experience their coming of age. Felix was a family friend, someone that the Walten family could trust with everything, yet ironically, is also the main antagonist and the one that ended up killing all of them. On May 2nd of 1972, after being asked to do a simple favor by Jack Walton, Felix had become heavily intoxicated at that school party. As we know by now, due to this intoxication, the 3 became involved in a car accident that ended up killing Ed and Molly. Beaten up and unable to bear the weight of his actions, Felix decides to bury them in a forest, the St. Juanas forest, in hopes of hiding his mistakes entirely. As we know though, the children wouldn't rest there eternally, since a few moments later, we observe them merge into that rocket doll, appearing to utilize that as their medium to get their fate across to the viewer. 1 month and 9 days later, on the 11th of June, Jack Walton goes missing. We can observe his missing flyer littered throughout every episode. However, at this point, we're unsure of what exactly happened to him. We have our sneaking suspicion that he could be stuffed in a Bon the Rabbit, but as of right now, that's merely a theory.
Ouais, et c'est vrai que sur ce point-là, on n'a pas encore le... En fait, là, dans l'épisode 5, on a eu donc du coup tout le background autour de Rosemary et ce qui l'a conduit du coup à sa mort, quoi. Enfin, du coup, au fait qu'elle a été introduite dans le chat. Mais pour Jack, pour l'instant, c'est vrai que Là, là, on est encore dans le flou en fait. On sait pas encore exactement ce qui lui est arrivé exactement le jour de sa disparition. On sait qu'il a disparu le 11 juin 74, ok. Mais comment il a été introduit dans Bonn? Est-ce que c'est Félix ou qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Ah, pour l'instant, ça fait partie des questions qui n'ont pas de réponse. Et soit on en saura plus, pareil. J'arrête pas de dire ça, mais soit on saura peut-être l'épisode 6 ou la saison 2. Mais après, étant donné que l'épisode 6, on est censé avoir un épisode centré sur Sophie et Jenny, à mon avis, je pense que Martin et son équipe vont garder ça de côté pour la saison 2, quoi.
Another month passes, and Rosemary Walton's grieving over her missing husband and 2 children at Bond's Burgers. She was likely...
elle a fait son deuil, comment dire? Bon, ça voilà. Après avoir vu l'épisode 5, c'est compliqué.
Desperate, weak, and open to anything, any lead she could get on where her family might be. She hears a voice coming from backstage, mentioning that, "I know where he is, Rosie." A voice that we now know was most likely that of her eldest daughter, Sophie. She heads back there, hoping to gather any sort of answer to ease her mind, yet is greeted with the face of death. She becomes dismembered as some unknown figure observes from the sidelines. It appeared, at least to this silhouette, that Bond's actions were going as planned, as programmed, and everything was falling perfectly into place. But that's not to say that these actions didn't go unnoticed, since Bond's builder, Susan Woodings, had realized irregularities in Bond just 19 days prior. It's clear to us that he wasn't programmed to behave this way and likely was altered in some form or fashion. Whether that was by Felix or someone else is to be determined. But there was ostensibly a notable change before Bond's Burgers ever opened. And so, Susan Woodings is killed because of her realization. She knew too much and was silenced before she could ever get the truth out there. Just 2 weeks after her death, we observe yet another, 5 days before that of Rosemary Walton. We're unsure of the exact identity of this person. However, considering the list of names that Ashley discovered, it's safe to assume that his name is Charles. For now, his relation to the story is unclear. However, I'm betting that his job was in the same vein as that of Susan Woodings, either a builder or a programmer of some sort. Perhaps we'll find out more information about him as this series progresses, but right now, that's what we can roll with. July 20th. Bond's Burgers closes after people reported screams that they heard around 2 a.m. Given the fact that Rosemary Walton was killed on July 19th, it's safe to assume that these screams were most likely her. It seems to me that due to the attention that the restaurant was getting, Felix decided to pull the plug on Bond's Burgers, storing every animatronic inside a top-secret facility in the St. Juanas forest. He likely placed it there because that's where Jack's 2 children died and were buried. Either he built it over the spot where he buried them, or placed it nearby so we could check up on it whenever he was working. These are, of course, just theories. However, I think it makes a bit of sense. Anyway, it seems that Felix, from the very beginning, had always planned to reopen Bond's Burgers, moving forward with the past quite literally buried behind him. Most likely, the only reason why he shut everything down and locked it up was to lay low for a bit. To let it all pass. And when people moved on, to bring it right back. 4 years later, and the Relocate Project is...
Ça, en vrai, sur cette partie-là, je trouve qu'il a raison. Sur le fait que Félix a voulu juste laisser passer tout ça, laisser le temps passer, laisser les gens oublier un peu, puis ensuite relancer la machine en mode, de toute façon, c'est moi le patron, je veux relancer le business, vas-y.
Finally in full swing. Facility caretakers are tasked with the most dangerous job out of all of them, reprogramming the robots themselves. Considering the lack of knowledge that came with Brian and Ashley, it's safe to assume that this facility caretaker job probably was a sketchy one. They likely received little to no orientation, no tours, and no heads up on what their supplies were actually intended for.
Ouais, alors en même temps pour Ashley et Brian, malheureusement c'est que les seules personnes qui avaient d'expérience sur les machines, bah ils sont tous morts en fait. C'est un peu dommage.
Personally, I think that the extent of their training was to simply watch the numerous BSI tapes. Watch the company introductory tape to learn about Bob's Burgers. Watch the numerous archives within the Relocate project to become acquainted with our new mission. And listen to Shaw as she gives you a virtual tour of K9. Because, you know, there's no way in hell that any higher-ups are risking their lives for this. That's what the facility caretakers are for, of course. And so, after all of this is said and done, we're left with one. Sophie Walten. Someone that we know was convinced to take a set of pills to forget that her family had ever existed. And this is where our mystery continues. To me, I really believe that Felix had a hand in suppressing her memories. He just couldn't stomach it. He couldn't kill her. Why? Well, at this point we're unsure, but it's safe to say that he's had numerous chances after the fact, yet didn't. And so, with Sophie, after the rapid succession of major losses in her life, she likely didn't know where to turn. She was lost and was plummeting into an ever-darkening mindset.
Ouais, je suis assez d'accord aussi avec Nexpo pour le coup. Le fait que Félix, s'il aurait voulu, il aurait peut-être buté comme les autres. Bon, pas... Mais il aurait peut-être buté... il a peut-être voulu la mettre au silence, quoi. Mais étant donné qu'elle avait tous ses traitements, tout ça, le fait qu'elle oublierait... Enfin, qu'elle avait ses médicaments qui lui faisaient perdre la mémoire, je pense que... Il a laissé passer, il l'a poussé... il a plus ou moins poussé à continuer à prendre ses cachets, quoi.
Due to the onslaught of tragedies she's had to endure. Felix noticed this, and to shut her up, he likely decided to bring her under his wing since he's Uncle Felix, remember? He gives her a job at Bob's Burgers to keep her busy, pushes her to obtain a prescription that he likely claimed would help, made her watch these so-called internal BSI tapes that were littered with hypnotic vernacular.
Safety and pills, Sophie. Safety and pills, Sophie.
And convinced her that, eventually, it would all go away.
Ouais, très franchement, toutes ces parties-là qui expliquent Nexpo, enfin sa théorie par rapport à Sophie et Félix, je trouve qu'elle tient vraiment bien la route. Là, pour ce qu'on sait encore avec le 4 et le 5, je trouve que cette théorie-là tient encore vraiment bien la route. On va attendre de voir la confirmation pour plus tard, mais vraiment, sa théorie est vraiment bien.
And it did. It did all go away. To me, that list of names now seems like it was some sort of a hit list. Just one piece in a breadcrumb trail that Felix was trying to bury. He wanted to move on from this entirely. He continued with the Bob's Burgers project years into the future, touting himself as the only founder of the company, quite literally cutting any mention of Jack Walten out of ever existing. The thing is, though, is that whoever created these tapes knows something. They want Sophie to remember. And now that she has, at least as of October 16th of 1982, it leaves us to wonder if she'll be next in line to meet her demise at the hands of Felix Kranken's reprogrammed animatronics. Just like that ominous facility caretaker key, Sophie's left as the sole survivor, and sort of a key herself that can open and expose the metaphorical backdoors into Felix Kranken's secrets. Doing this would allow her to finally expose his wrongdoings, ultimately leading to much needed accountability for everything that he did to her family. That is, of course, unless he gets to her first. Loss, betrayal, suppression, curiosity, and death. These are the major cornerstones of the Walten Files tapes, something that I've become absolutely enthralled by in recent months. It's been quite a while since I've seen a series this well constructed, and I'm immensely eager to see how each lingering question becomes answered. Like, how did Bond become violent to begin with? Who's putting Jack's face into these tapes? What actually was the fate of Jack Walton anyway? Where the hell does Anthony fit into all this? And will Felix Kranken ever answer for the murder cover-up of nearly the entire Walton family? As it stands, and considering that there are more episodes planned, it looks like only time will tell. When these videos do come out though, you can bet your ass that I'll be dropping everything to tune in. And when the time is right, you know that I'll be back. And I'll be ready. For part 2.
Ouais, et je serai prêt aussi pour vous traduire aussi la partie 2 quand elle sortira. Bah, en tout cas, je trouve que pour une vidéo qui date, là on voit de 2021, d'il y a 5 ans, la vidéo de Nexpo reste à ce jour, elle reste à ce jour déjà très, elle est très qualitative, elle est très très bien montée. C'est vraiment une des mieux montées je trouve sur le sujet, enfin par rapport au Walten Files. Et franchement, même aujourd'hui, si vous voulez conseiller une vidéo à quelqu'un pour vous résumer un peu le début de la série, vous pouvez recommander cette vidéo-là. Franchement, cette vidéo-là, elle fait très bien le taf. Elle fait très 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 bien le taf. Et oui, comme il l'a dit, quand ce sera le moment, il fera une partie 2. Et quand il y aura la partie 2, je vous la traduirai. C'est prévu. Bon, alors, ensuite, c'est vrai qu'entre-temps, avant le deuxième Film Theory, on avait eu un petit teaser, le premier teaser sur Walten Files 4. On commence à regarder vite fait quand même. Pour voir ce qui a changé par rapport au 4. Après, c'est vrai que le 4, j'ai plus trop de souvenirs de cet épisode-là. C'est sûr. Je me rappelle le moins. Ah oui, il me semble que le 4, parce que c'est bon, ça fait The Who, ça fait longtemps que je l'ai regardé. Enfin, ça fait longtemps que je l'ai regardé c'est celui où j'ai le moins de souvenirs, mais il me semble que c'est... Oui, alors c'est l'épisode qui se centre un petit peu... Enfin, on en sait un petit peu plus sur Charles et sur Suzanne, et je crois un peu plus sur le fonctionnement des machines, je crois si je dis pas de bêtises. Hein. De toute façon, on reverra demain. Demain à 20h, on sommatera le reste, le 4 et le 5. Hein. Ah oui, ça je me rappelle, oui, ça je me rappelle cette partie-là. Ah putain, oui, c'est vrai, oui, c'est bon. Ah, je me rappelle, oui. Je me rappelle. Oui, je me rappelle, c'était des moments où je crois que juste après, on suivait un peu Félix chez lui, puis qu'il était tourmenté par la mort des enfants.
Molly and Ed?
C'est vrai que j'avais comment zappé cette partie-là. Et après, oui, c'est... Ok. Bon. Là, on va passer ensuite, c'est le deuxième Film Theory. Sachant que, au niveau de mes vues, par exemple, sur YouTube, en dehors des Walten Files, les vidéos qui ont fait le plus de vues, c'est la vidéo de Nexpo, donc on vient de regarder, et la deuxième vidéo de Film Theory qu'on s'est regardée maintenant. Du coup, j'avais oublié aussi de préciser aussi que les deux miniatures avaient été refaites par mon pote Monster. Du coup, je lui avais demandé... il m'avait fait ça avec plaisir et je le remercie beaucoup pour ça. Vraiment très qualitatif la miniature. Mais ouais, ça fait longtemps que j'avais pas vu ce deuxième Film Theory, donc on va s'en mater ça. Ça remater encore un petit peu de mode patte. qui manque un peu à YouTube. Hein.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where I wish I had a shadow man feed me when lights go off. Oh, no. What is this thing? Oh, you're a horrific monster. Second thought, maybe not. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Walten Files. For those of you who don't remember, the Walten Files is the analog horror series from Chilean creator Martin Walls, with a story that's gonna melt your brain and a sound design that's gonna melt your ears. Apologies, headphone users. It's a story about the now defunct Bonds Burgers, an animatronic-themed restaurant chain founded by business partners Jack Walton and Felix Kranken. Through the first 2 installments of the series, we learned that these two men had a falling out, and that Bonds had been forced to close shortly after its opening due to some mysterious event called the Incident of 1974. Honestly, though, it feels more accurate to call this the Incidents of 1974, considering that this is the year of Jack's disappearance, his wife Rosemary's untimely death and stuffing into Shaw the sheep, and another woman named Susan Woodings winding up inside Banny the bunny. I mean, it was a busy year for the franchise. After the closure due to the incidents of 1974, the animatronics were relocated out into the woods, where they proceeded to take the lives of a few more victims as they lay in wait for the return of the mysterious character named Sophie, a former caretaker of the Bonds Burgers facility that we briefly saw in the very first episode of the series. A person that the animatronics are particularly keen on getting their hands on, as evidenced by them killing Brian Stells because he, quote, looked like her. And as of last episode, that's where we left things off. Almost. There was one final video I hinted at towards the end of that last episode. By piecing together flashes of a URL left at the beginning and end of the Relocate project upload, we're brought to an unlisted video titled Lucky You, where we see... Wait, what is this? What is this? It's a clearly laid out timeline of events? I'm crying because I'm so happy. Also, watch the endoskeleton boogie down.
Clairement, cet humour qu'avait Mode Pod dans les vidéos, c'est un truc aussi qui manque, comme on disait tout à l'heure, ça manque vraiment aux vidéos de théorie actuelles.
If there was any lingering confusion about the order of this story, Lucky You is basically the teacher's answer key, and it confirms everything that we talked about last upload. However, there's still one major reveal here: the return of Sophie.
You must be so confused about what you saw. Don't be scared, my little bunny, for I'm going to tell you a story of broken people, beautiful people, safety and pills. Sophie.
This now pretty much marks Sophie as our main character. Remember, the first thing that we hear in episode 1 of the series is backwards text that gives us this message. You finally start to remember that old day. They will look out for you soon. This whole story from its opening moments has been an attempt to wake up long dormant memories inside Sophie's mind. And now we have a fuller picture of what's going on. Sophie was once a caretaker of Bonds Burgers. She survives a tragic accident or a Bon attack, something that would cause her memories to be locked away behind a gate of trauma and medication. So the question now is, what exactly are those memories that need to be unlocked? For that, we finally turn to episode 3, Bunny Farm, the last canonical installment in the series and the one where we watch as Sophie's memories come flooding back. The premise for this hour-long upload is that Sophie, now age 22, is playing through the old Bunny Smiles Incorporated arcade game Bunny Farm. Along the way, she's presented with her family's tragic backstory, forced to face literal corpses, to which she responds,
but that was very confusing.
Understatement of the year there, Soph. As she plays through the game, she taps into glitches and hidden files that provide us with massive lore dumps. These reveals ultimately break down into 3 major chunks. The first is Susan Wooding's audio log number 3. It's worth noting we've yet to hear numbers 1 and 2. Through this file, we learn that Susan was the engineer for the animatronics, the one that essentially built them. When they're found malfunctioning on opening day, well, this happens. This tells us a few things. First, that they begin to malfunction after Jack's disappearance, but before anyone actually gets stuffed. 2, it confirms what we suspected, that she is in fact the one inside of the Banny suit, and that she doesn't appear to have any family connection to the Waltons themselves. Interestingly, based on this teeny tiny text right here that's really tough to read, we see that she's still alive inside of the suit somehow, and that her stomach feels weird, which probably connects back to the Shadow Man feeding her when lights go off that we saw happen in the Relocate project. And finally, Susan's tape here brings up an interesting loose thread. Susan says this.
Chris left some hours ago, and Felix didn't even show up.
She mentions someone named Chris. Now, earlier in Bunny Farm, we see that Chris is the name for one of the saved game files on the arcade cabinet. But the name actually comes up even earlier than that. The first time we actually hear about Chris is way back in the first upload of the series, where Chris is the one that ultimately sends Brian Stells to the animatronic storage facility and ultimately to his death. It's hard to hear exactly, but Chris's name is definitely mentioned here.
Anyway, so Chris told me this place hasn't been working since about 78, 79.
So, could Chris be the identity?
Ouais, c'est vrai que Chris, là on se rend, enfin, c'est vrai qu'il est là depuis le tout début aussi, hein, enfin en tant qu'employé lui-même. Mais ouais, depuis le tout début, puis bon, on l'a vu du coup avec Rosemary dans l'épisode 5, mais et qu'il est encore dans l'entreprise du coup en 82. Du coup, pour conduire, enfin, pour aider Brian, du coup, à trouver le local, mais ouais, c'est vrai qu'aussi, ça serait bien d'avoir un petit peu de background aussi sur Chris. Parce que Chris, quand même, il a quand même une partie importante aussi dans l'entreprise. Hein.
Of our Shadow Man, the one person who has a connection to the franchise since its earliest days and has survived to tell the tale, feeding the animatronics at night. It remains to be seen, but Chris is definitely suspect number 1. The second major chunk of this upload gives us the identity of yet another animatronic, this time Buzu the Ringmaster. Bunny Farm is very explicit in showing us that a man named Charles has been stuffed inside of the suit, and that he's been missing since
714, missing real 714.
5 days before the restaurant's shut down. Some scary breathing and jump scares later, we get this line, a line that's only visible via the closed captions. I don't remember my face. Chris and now Charles are 2 major loose threads that we have coming out of this upload. We know that they're important to the story, but we don't quite know their role in any of this. Last is the most tragic chunk of the 3, which, you know, is saying a lot considering that we just went through 2 horrific murders. Through a series of redacted diary entries, we learn how Felix's marriage to his wife Linda falls apart, and how Felix has increasingly turned towards alcohol for some reason. His problems actually date back to 1964, 10 years before any of the Bonds Burgers drama started to kick up. In fact, they don't start pitching the restaurant idea until a year later in 1965 to a company called Cyberfun Tech. So it seems like trouble was brewing in Felix's life much earlier than most Walten File theorists suspect. But it all wouldn't fall apart until a fateful phone call when Jack asks Felix to take his 2 kids, Ed and Molly, to their school dance.
I need to stay at the workshop to finish the paperwork, and Rosie's taking Sophie to the dentist. We were wondering if we could pick them up for the event and take them home later. Sure, I can do that. Really? Yeah, sure. Oh, thanks a lot, man. You're a lifesaver, Felix.
Jack would soon find out that Felix would not, in fact, be a lifesaver. As you might have predicted, Felix, with his alcohol issue, is not fit to drive that night. Via the diary entries, we learned that Linda had officially left him earlier that day, May 2nd, and after drinking more at the school dance, which, I guess things were different at school dances back in the 70s, he gets lost on the drive back home and ultimately winds up in a horrific car crash that kills both of Jack's children, Ed and Molly. Terrified of what he's done and what he could possibly tell Jack, he buries the 2 kids as a cover-up for his actions. This, in turn, is the memory that Sophie needed to unlock.
You must find them, Sophie.
This just got so much deeper than I thought, and now I think I know what's happening.
In the end, we clearly see Ed and Molly, depicted as two red children, rise out of the ground and possess their gray stuffed animal, Rocket Rabbit. Two children sharing one character. Wait, is Rocket just the Walten Files equivalent of Golden Freddy? Did everyone realize that Golden Freddy actually had two spirits inside of one suit before I did? What are the dates of this one? Walten Files, okay. Golden Freddy Spirit Theory. Okay, I was ahead of it by a little bit. And then Bunny Farm ends on that uplifting note. From here, we get one final check-in with our happy little animatronic family, a final sequence of jump scares, and that's it. A somber ending to an intense 3-video ride of horror and tragedy. And honestly, it's a pretty tightly written episode. In this one extended upload, we get a lot of the answers that we were looking for last time. Who is Sophie? Why is she important? What she's supposed to remember? Check, check, and check. We know all those things now. But for everything that it explicitly answers, Bunny Farm still leaves one of our biggest questions open-ended. The biggest being, where's Jack? His frantic phone calls to Felix the night of the crash asking about his children are, to date, the last time we actually see or hear from him. Sometime in the next month after those calls, he disappears, the robots start acting funny, the restaurant opens, Rosemary gets stuffed into Shaw, and things quickly close. But whether that's Jack getting stuffed into Bon, Jack stuffing himself into Bon, William Afton style, or him just literally disappearing out of grief and despair in a quest to find some way to bring his kids back, it's unclear. After all, someone caused the animatronics to go haywire before opening day of the restaurant. Could it have been Jack and his grief? Maybe. The evidence we have right now points to Jack being dead, or stuffed into the Bond suit like you might expect. In video 1, we get a brief glimpse of Jack's missing poster, which comes accompanied with a message of, "Let me out of here." And considering that Susan in Bunny Farm says that she's alive inside the Banny suit, stuffed people in this universe appear to be conscious inside of their animatronic prisons. For more proof of Jack's fate, though, look no further than the actual farm in Bunny Farm. You'll notice that even though the game in question is called Bunny Farm, the farm actually belongs to a character named Pete the Hippo. I guess Hippo Farm doesn't have the same ring to it. Anyway, during Sophie's playthrough, there's a lingered-on shot of a plaque describing the whole area as being founded by a hippo named Bobby, with two children, Johnny and Pete. Bobby, who's now deceased, year unknown, had promised to build the greatest barn ever. Later, this plaque changes to instead reference the deaths of Ed and Molly Walten, which, by proxy, would mean that Bobby, our dead hippo, is then the stand-in for Jack Walten, our dead or stuffed protagonist. Connected to that, who or what is Bon the animatronic bunny? It's easy to assume that Bon and Jack are one and the same. If the bunny-shaped animatronic rabbit foot fits, wear it, you know? But I'm just not convinced. On one hand, the Springtrap connection of a mourning father losing his mind and trying to put the pieces of a broken family back together is hard to deny. On the other, though, I just don't see Jack, a loving father, actively luring his loving wife Rosemary to her death in the guise of Bon. Plus, we get a few additional visual clues as to what might really be going on here. Throughout...
Ouais, c'est vrai que sur ce point-là, y a encore des théories à l'heure actuelle qui disent que... Enfin, t'as des gens qui théorisent sur le fait que Jack et Bon seraient deux personnes différentes, ce que je peux comprendre. Et c'est vrai que pour l'instant, personne n'est complètement d'accord sur est-ce que Jack et Bon sont la même personne, est-ce que finalement c'est deux personnes différentes. Bon, pour l'instant, on n'a pas confirmation, mais c'est vrai que cette théorie-là, elle pullule encore aujourd'hui. Et pour l'instant, on est sûr de rien, quoi.
Bunny Farm, we get the merging and separating of Ed and Molly as these two red child spirits. We, of course, see them preparing for their school dance on the front steps of their house, and we see both of their faces multiple times around Rocket Rabbit, making it crystal clear that they're inside of that beloved toy. But in a weird couple of creative decisions, we also see them split.
Bon, est-ce que double face c'est deux personnes? Oui. Non, enfin... Moi, je connais pas. Là, cet univers-là, je saurais pas dire.
Out of Bon multiple times. During the night of the dance, we see the Bon player character wander around the school before passing behind a wall, and suddenly on the other side, we see Ed and Molly appear to hunt for their uncle. And during the final jump scares of the Bunny Farm video, we see Bon glitching with overlays of two child spirits, one boy and one girl. So is Bon responding to the presence of these two lost children? Are they inside of him? His murderous intentions born out of their collective rage? Again, just like we see with Golden Freddy over in FNAF Land? Was Rocket just a glorified vessel to carry him from one body to the next? It's really unclear right now. Lastly, though, I want to talk about the identity of Charles. Is he a Walten? A Kranken? At this point, we have a clear idea of pretty much everyone else in the story. Jack, Rosemary, Sophie, Ed, and Molly are all one family. Felix was a friend and partner who ultimately separates from his wife Linda. Susan Woodings was an animatronic designer who just seems to be an employee kind of hanging out. But everything about Charles outside of his name is still a big question mark, despite him being one of the main focuses of Bunny Farm. That said, I think I have an idea about his role in all this. And the solution doesn't come in the form of secret unlisted videos or backwards text. It comes instead in the form of Martin Walls' other non-canon animated specials. Mixed into the release of the Walten Files is a pair of animated holiday specials. The Christmas special called Boozoo's Ghosts and the Halloween special entitled The Mysterious House. Both feature alternate versions of our beloved mascot characters. Both also start off as seemingly normal old-time holiday specials before becoming the corrupted nightmare fuel that you'd associate with this series. To quickly summarize, Mysterious House is about a pair of trick-or-treaters who fall victim to a group of serial killers disguised as versions of Bon, Shaw, Billy, and a bizarre new character called TVA. Boozoo's Ghosts, meanwhile, is a surreal remix of A Christmas Carol that puts Boozoo, our ringmaster, in the role of the rich miser Ebenezer Scrooge, and features a death scene where the censored face looks very similar to the contortions on Charles that we see throughout Bunny Farm. Now, I'm not suggesting that Martin Walls is lying about these being non-canon videos or anything. What I am saying, though, is that they might be testing out ideas or inspired by things that are canon to the actual story. And if that's the case, Boozoo being both a ringmaster, i.e. the head of a circus performance, as well as the stand-in for Ebenezer Scrooge, literature's most famous money-grubbing boss, seems to be an intentional choice. It implies that Charles was, in some way, a higher-up, a boss, maybe even the man supervising it all. Consider this. As is common with the series, there's one final hidden URL inside of Bunny Farm, with a piece at the top of the video and a second at the end. Following that link leads you to a video called Guilty, where we watch the tragic downfall of Felix, from an enthusiastic young boss with a dream to a substance abuser lamenting his actions. And it's in this video that we start to track the history of their company. Jack and Felix found Bunny Smiles Incorporated back in 1967, just two guys with a strange shared dream of bringing animatronic fun to the masses. But in 1972, they sell to a new company, Cyber Fun Tech. Notice the logos and disclaimers on the title cards for all these videos. Felix even calls it out.
It's crazy how far we made it. Just everything, really. The Cyberfun Tech deal, the Bonds Burgers project, it's incredible.
And this is a part of the franchise's lore that's really yet to be explored. The need for Jack and Felix to actively involve a third partner, possibly in the form of whoever actually ran Cyberfun Technologies. A third partner who has monetary leverage to demand favors from one or both men to keep the business going in the direction that he wanted. This, I suspect, is Charles, the mystery face that lives inside of Boozoo. Hence that character being depicted as both ringmaster among the robots and as Scrooge in his animated special. It's my belief that we're gonna learn that Charles is ultimately responsible for Felix's mental collapse. Anyway, with the new teaser out for installment 4, we may learn these answers sooner than later. But at the end of the day, what I love about the series is that it's a story about human characters in a world full of animatronics, not a story about animatronic characters in a world full of humans. What makes the Walten Files such an intensely disturbing story is that it's a family tragedy. Sure, there's certainly terrifying imagery and sound design, but it's just set dressing for real people going through intensely horrific situations. Life, a lot of times, is scary enough, and that's all you need. The killer bunny robot, that's just the cherry on top. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Ouais, c'est vrai que là, sur ce point-là, il avait à peu près raison sur tout, peut-être sauf la partie sur charge. Il s'est complètement planté sur charge, je crois, mais... Parce que Charles n'a pas du tout ce truc-là de supérieur. Enfin, du moins, c'est plus ce que j'avais, il me semble pas. Hein. Mais bref, de toute façon, on verra demain. Là, il nous reste que quelques minutes de vidéo. On va regarder ça vite fait. Ça, ensuite... Ce que nous avions ensuite, c'était quelques trailers qui avaient été balancés sur Twitter. C'était donc 2022, novembre 2022. Que j'avais compilé et remis sur YouTube en sous-titrant, tout simplement.
Ready, set.
my friend, right? I need you to say it. I need you to tell me we're friends, please.
Ah, la musique utilisée pour les trailers, elle est sympa.
What if it's my fault? What if...
Et ça, c'est rigolo de voir ça en 2022, du coup. De voir ça en 2022 parce que c'est un plan qui... C'est un plan qu'il a réutilisé, qu'il a pas utilisé avant, très récemment pour le 5. Donc, sorti il y a une semaine maintenant. Je crois qu'il restait un ou deux trailers. Oh, il en reste un après. Ok, ouais, non, le 4, le 4, j'ai vraiment plus trop de souvenirs dessus, quoi. À part le moment avec Charlie et Suzanne et puis l'autre moment avec Félix, un moment chez lui, je me rappelle de plus grand chose. Hein. Ça devient le petit piqueur de rappel.
Bunny Smiles Incorporated, most advanced company in Livingston County. Smiles at you.
Ok. Très très bien. Ah bon, ah oui, la fameuse publicité.
What's that I see?
Ah non, c'était pas celle-là. Moi, je confondais avec la publicité qualité. Il me semblait, les deux sont. Il me semblait que c'était ce. Bon, vous m'avez compris.
A bored family over there.
Elle est très sympa cette pub. L'artwork est vraiment cool là.
Bon's Burgers, an all-new entertainment center guarantees excitement for all. But don't take it from me, take it from this guy.
Opening June 28th on 8262 Cross Street, Bon's Burgers will become a magical part of your children's life. Bunny Smiles Incorporated has spent blood, sweat, and tears to provide state-of-the-art entertainment, games, and the best quality food. Bon and his gang are the biggest, most advanced restaurant in Livingston County. But don't take it from me, take it from the big man himself, Bon the Rabbit.
The most fun place in town. I've really outdone myself with this one. I don't even know where to
Over 20 arcade games! With my game zone featuring the poker
Ah, banni. Oh putain.
Oh, don't forget! Those delicious freshly cooked hamburgers, so good! Oh, you're so right here! So come on.
All right, we get it. So come on down to Bon's Burgers, opening this Friday over at Cross Street. Fast food and family fun.
Vraiment sympa cette, très sympa cette petite pub qu'il a réalisée comme teaser. Et on passe à la dernière vidéo du coup. Non, attendez. Je vais juste revoir vite fait. Est-ce qu'il y avait un...
What's that I see? A board.
Non, c'était juste le carton de doublage. Est-ce qu'il avait ajouté un truc sur le... Du cam. Nos caminis autres révisés pour le stream. Ah oui, il avait resté ça pour un stream de charité. Oui, d'accord. Pardon. Oui, il s'embêtait à faire ça. Et du coup, Anthony qui était là pour nous dire que c'est un reportage qu'on lui a envoyé par email. Et donc la 4e compilation est en cours de correction, tout ça, parce que les cassettes concourent plus et tout. Et bref, nous allons finir sur ça ce soir. Le mini-épisode qui précède du coup l'épisode 4. Spectacle.
Thank you, Mervyn. This is Christine Marshall reporting to Eyewitness at 9. Now, what you're looking at originated as a small, run-down mom-and-pop business. If you're among the small Brighton community, you may have heard of Bon's Burgers, a well-known entertainment center that in fact hosted birthday parties and events in this very building. Now, if you know about this place, you also probably know about the infamous reasons its run was so short-lived. 4 months ago, around the summertime, this place opened its doors to the public for the first time, and less than a month later, it would shut its doors to the public permanently. But why? And how? Let's find out.
My kid went there a few months ago to celebrate his birthday party. I remember only a few months later, all those rumors would appear. Oh, don't go there. Oh, it's haunted. But frankly, I never believed in those stuff myself. I just think it was a neat place, but hey, everyone can believe what they want, I guess.
As we interviewed the people around town, one thing becomes more and more evident. Bon's Burgers supposedly held a lot of secrets. As soon as this little burger joint opened its doors, a strange and disturbing chain of disappearances began to unravel, all linked to one specific pattern. Its parent company, Bunny Smells Incorporated.
6 total missing reports filed around the summer, all equal.
C'est vrai que ce mini-épisode amène toute première apparition de l'inspecteur Derek Collins, qui s'occupe de l'affaire, et dont on a vu beaucoup plus dans l'épisode 5. Mince, qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? J'ai appuyé sur la mauvaise touche, pardon.
6 total missing reports filed around the summer, all equally stressful and intriguing. I believe it reached a breaking point when Jack Walten, the co-founder, was declared missing. I must have come to that place at least 10 times in those 2 weeks alone. Then 3 more missing reports about missing employees. I disapprove, however, the spectacle you people have been making about real disappearances. You know, it's disheartening, and I don't wish to comment on anything else.
Soon the urban legends would originate. Ghost stories about missing employees, presumed dead, haunting the establishment. Soon all sorts of reports would appear. Loud music being played late in the night, way past the restaurant's closing time. Car alarms and lights being kept on around midnight, confusing many people nearby and causing them to keep a close eye on the place. However, it all culminated on the night of July 19th. As witnesses state, there were blood-curdling screams of an adult woman heard around 2 to 3 a.m. Once the police arrived and broke into the restaurant, no one was inside. A few days later, the place shut down due to budget reasons. Allegedly, at least. But the urban stories say much different. It's suspected that those screams belonged to one Rosemary Walten, a woman that disappeared earlier that same day, never to be found. After some time, the building has been deemed condemned. Nobody really seems interested in using this space as the jarring stories and theories are believed to drive people away. Only break-ins and vandalizing occur inside this defunct building. Though these theories still remain, that those disappearances still taunt the aura of this very place, and whatever the truth may be, the disturbing presence of Bon's Burgers has...
Oh putain, j'avais complètement oublié ça. Oh putain. Ouais. Bah ouais. Bah oui, ils avaient pas retrouvé le corps étant donné que Bonne l'a mis dans le chat. Yep. Ouais. C'est toujours là. On le sait que tu es toujours là, oui. On le sait. Bon, et bah voilà. Et bah voilà. C'est vrai que ça fait beaucoup, mais là... en vrai, là... on a surtout couvert, du coup, ce soir, là, toute la partie juste Film Fairy, puis Nexpo. Et quelques trailers qui précédaient Walten Files 4, mais demain, on aura ça sera la fin du marathon, du coup, avec l'épisode 4 et l'épisode 5, on va enchaîner. Même l'épisode 5, on savait déjà que le son de Marie était le plus triste. Ouais, clairement, ouais. C'est quand même bizarre que tu vois, par rapport au reportage, que... ils ont trouvé personne quand ils sont rentrés dedans, mais ils n'ont pas trouvé de sang. Alors que bon, avec ce qu'on a vu dans le 3, plus dans le 5, ça a giclé, hein, le sang. Hein. Il y en a eu un petit peu partout. Hein. Parce qu'il y a quelqu'un pour nettoyer derrière avant que la police arrive. Mystère. Mais ouais, en tout cas, là, il nous reste plus grand-chose à regarder, du coup. Bon, plus grand-chose. Là, vous dites, il y a 12 vidéos, mais ça fera autant de temps, je pense, que ça de ce soir. À mon avis, c'est peut-être 3 heures de live. Facile. Ouais, 3 heures, ouais. À peu près. Ouais, Félix a dû bien nettoyer derrière. Ouais, je suis d'accord. Je pense que c'est ce qui a dû se passer. C'est ce qui a dû se passer. Mais bref. Sur ce, j'espère que cette deuxième partie du direct vous a fait plaisir. Ça me fait très plaisir aussi de revoir ces vidéos. J'ai très hâte de demain pour qu'on puisse en terminer. Que je puisse revoir le 4, parce que le 4, j'ai vraiment plus grand-chose en souvenir, je vous avoue, sur le 4. On se revoit du coup la Crimosa, la Net Television et puis tout le reste. Aussi le retour du lapin citrouille que j'ai beaucoup aimé traduire du coup. Et bien sur ce, je vais vous laisser, je vais vous souhaiter une bonne nuit, une bonne fin de soirée. Et donc je vous dis à demain 20h pour la fin du marathon, qu'on se mate le 4 et le 5. Et puis voilà. Allez, à demain, la bonne nuit.